Thank God it's Wednesday. Welcome, everybody, to the greatest business show on the internet. This is Booze and Biz. My name is Nick Glassett, and I'm very excited to drink some tequila while we talk to our special guests, Foam Daddy. And then, as always, I'm excited to see all your beautiful faces in the Zoom. And shout out to all of you guys over there on Facebook. If you guys want to join, remember, you can hit the link. It's pinned in the comments. So I just want to give you guys all a huge thanks for stopping by. Tonight, I'm drinking a new tequila that I'm trying out. I bought it at my favorite store in the entire world, the Piggly Wiggly in Madisonville, Louisiana. It's called Altos. It says that it's a copper pot still tequila. It's pretty freaking good. It's a little unique, though. It did take me a second to get used to, but if you guys take a look at the bottle, it's clearly a good tequila. So shout out to Altos. If you guys see it at your store, buy some and try some. And then if you do buy it, please send me a picture of it. I want to know what you guys think of it because it's a little bit interesting. I really like it. So we're gonna have a jam-packed show tonight for two reasons. First reason is we have amazing guests. So going forward, what I'm going to try and do with the show all the way through the fall here is we're going to have a guest on every single week. Different people from different industries, different areas, different expertises. It's going to be super cool. Trying to kind of mix it up and bring you guys a little bit different version of the show through the fall here. So we are kicking that off tonight in true style with some guys that I truly respect. Okay. So you guys get ready to learn. Okay. The other reason we're going to have a show that's a little bit jam-packed tonight is kind of a two-parter. So first part is my wife has been in California since last Friday. So it is single dad life around here. All right. So we're going to get interrupted by Brody, my 5-year-old little girl, for sure, at least one time, but like no less than 7. So bear with me on that part. All right. Then the second part of the reason that it's going to be such a jam-packed show is this single dad is flying across the country tomorrow morning with both kids to meet up with Michelle in California. So I've got us all packed up. We're ready to go. The blankets are rolled. We have the little neck pillows. Everything's good to go. Okay. But there's always more to be done, especially if you're traveling solo with 2 children. So if you guys have a question, I urge you tonight, do not wait to ask it. Get that hand raised, speak up, do whatever you got to do, but get your question asked because tonight I kind of got to be out of here like 90 minutes tops. Okay. So on the show tonight, I'm super stoked to bring you guys the Foam Daddy crew. So we have Paul Gaona, we have Chris Weed, and Lawrence Wright all joining us tonight. If you guys don't know who they are or you don't know what Foam Daddy is, it is totally okay to admit that you're out of touch and you factually live under a rock. All right. But for those of you that don't know who they are, okay, so Foam Daddy is the leader in the foam party industry, and their products, in my humble opinion, outpace everything else in that market by miles, and it's really not even close. I think it's kind of like Paul innovates, and then everybody else is trying to keep up, all right? And then Chris is the Foam Daddy brand ambassador, as well as one of the most successful foam party businesses there is. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge, a straight shooter, and just an all-around pleasant dude to hang with. All right. I had the privilege of meeting him in person last year in September when he attended my Christmas light installation class. And then he promptly left the class and went and crushed it in the Christmas light installation biz in Phoenix. Okay. Then we have Lawrence Wright. So Lawrence is a foam party operator in Kansas City and I don't know all the background of this. So Lawrence, you may have to fill us in, but I know you're moving to Phoenix to work directly with Foam Daddy, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be an amazing freaking show tonight. All right. With that said, I'd like to kind of open it up and let's get the show rolling. So let's welcome to the show the Foam Daddy crew. What's up, guys?
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you very much for letting us be here.
Absolutely.
So what do you have? You want to do questions, or how do you want to? What's easiest for you?
Yeah, so let's start a little bit. So there's a whole mess of people in here, much larger than normal. So my guess is that a lot of people in here already know who you guys are. But if you guys could give us a little bit of a background kind of on who you are, just give us your 60-second commercial and just tell us who you are.
Well, let's start with Paul. Paul, come in here for just a second. I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, so I'm Paul. I'm the owner, and we've been around for about 14, 15 years now. And we, like you said, we're the leader in the, in the industry. And we're going to be coming up with some new products coming up in this new down season. Everyone's going to be trying to catch up with with us on that end. But Chris is our brand ambassador here. Lawrence, we just brought him on. He's going to be our operations manager as well. So he's going to kind of get us in line, get us more on track with things. We're just growing super, super fast. Every year we've been growing by 50-60%, and it's just hard to keep up. So we're just bringing more experience, more brains on the team, and just growing. So that's kind of who we are right there. But thank you guys for joining us.
So I'm Chris. I run the Foam Daddy user group, and we started the group 38 months ago, June of 2020. And in the next couple of days, we'll hit member number 6,000 in that group. And it's pretty amazing what a community we've built around foam. We've really developed the concept of foam as not being just a rental item, but it being an entertainment concept. And we're working really hard in developing the industry to teach people how to make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Just to give you an idea, I did my first foam party in 2018. So far this year, we've done about 750 parties, which is pretty amazing. And we're going to be somewhere between 850 and 900 still left of the season. And I'm in a bunch of other businesses. I'm a party guy like all of you guys, but I have really unusual businesses. We own a fire truck party business called Fantastic Fire Departments. I have Bubble Maniacs, my foam and bubble party business. We have mini golf on the go, portable mini golf. I'm a magician. We've got a sleepover party business that's launching shortly, and a bunch of other businesses as well. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
So, hello, I'm Lawrence. I only have one business. I feel kind of bad coming after Chris, but I've got a foam party business in Kansas City. I started a little over a year ago with this new concept for me of foam, and now I'm here in the corporate office of Foam Daddy. But I'm bringing with me that experience not only from foam for the last year and a half, but also a pretty deep operational background, a little known retailer out there in the country. But I'm excited to be here. One of my roles is to make sure that when people order things, it gets to you as soon as it possibly can. In an event, there's a small chance there's some kind of a problem, we fix it super quick. So that's one of my new roles with the company, but I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you guys got the branding on lock right now. So I love it. All right. So I think we can open up to questions immediately. Like Q&A is always my favorite. So if you guys have questions, you can raise your hand. We'll bring you on. And you can ask your question in person. If you're shy, you can type them in the comments, either on Facebook or in the Zoom chat, and then we can get rolling with questions pretty much straight away. That being said, while you guys kind of formulate your questions, I think it's super amazing. I love to watch businesses grow. And so Foam Daddy, I've watched you guys go from, launching, like Chris said, launching the user group. And then I saw you guys just crushing it, hitting 6,000, right? And then now bringing on an operations manager. That's huge. Just, as an entrepreneur, it just tickles me, you know what I mean, to see businesses do that. So kudos to you guys for everything that you do.
Thank you. But I definitely wanted to say something, and I wanted you to probably go, and probably elaborate on this. But people always ask, why is Foam Daddy a little bit more expensive than going with somebody else? And do you want to elaborate on why?
Yeah, well,
why all the things that we provide beyond just the actual foam machine?
We're here and we've been here, and I know a lot of you guys watching tonight are our customers. You know that if it's 11 o'clock at night, or it's a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, you know that if you need help, somebody's going to help you. You know that if your shipment gets lost. I had somebody last night who messaged me at 8 o'clock at night who had an order stolen off their doorstep in Chicago. And by 9 o'clock this morning, a replacement order on us was on the way to the guy's doorstep. We're here, we've been here. That's not necessarily true of some of the other people in the business. There have been a lot of companies, even the last 3 years, over a dozen different companies have decided that, not really companies, people decided, well, I can make a foam machine in my garage, and they've peddled them for a couple of months, and that's about how long they lasted. Building machines, supporting them, having an infrastructure to be able to get shipments out every day, particularly in the busy season, because this is a seasonal business. On a typical day in June, we fill 2 or 3 UPS trucks, and that requires a lot of planning and a lot of people. So in a word, it's just it's experience, it's security that we're going to be here, and it's customer service and knowing that when you need help, we're here to help you. It's pretty much that simple.
Right. We also, we also do provide you guys with a Google Drive. So you guys can have access to pictures and videos and professional pictures and videos. So now when you just start out, you can just instantly start using those pictures, posting them and getting it going so you can book out parties, because we're in this together. We want to make sure that you guys can get bookings, because if you guys can get bookings, then we're successful. Because if you guys can't, then hey, you're gonna buy the machine, it's gonna sit there and both of us don't win. But if you guys can get out there and book events, book parties, and you guys have fresh new content all the time, that's our main goal. And that's my pledge as the owner, is to spend more money and invest into every 3 months of doing a professional photo shoot, hiring professional models, kid models, all this stuff to do this. So make sure you have fresh content always. And that's kind of what, what sets us apart from everybody else.
We've really built, I mean, Nick, you see this, and a lot of you guys that are watching see this. We've really built a community that isn't just about selling foam cannons. It's about teaching people how to take what Foam Daddy makes and make money with it, how to properly market it, how to properly brand it, what a party should look like, how to get a lot more money for events, how your setup should look, how to make it into an entertainment experience. And that's really been my focus. I don't actually work for Foam Daddy. I'm not an employee of the company. I run the user group as one of you guys because I'm a party person and I have a lot of fun doing this. But we've helped a lot of people develop their businesses, and I have a lot of pride in that. It's really amazing what people have accomplished. During the pandemic, I brought on board a whole bunch of magicians because I'm a magician. And a lot of these folks were not able to do magic shows during the pandemic. And instead, they were out doing foam parties at schools and daycares and people's birthdays. And we helped a lot of people eat during that time. And I'm very proud of that. And we've helped a lot of people eat very well in the meantime as they've grown their businesses, which is pretty awesome. And we're going to talk in a little bit about Foam Universe, which is another aspect of this, which is our conference that's going to be in your backyard in January, Nick, in New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's apparent that you guys do a great job because we already have people in the chat that are trolling. I've already kicked 2 people out of the Zoom that were clearly not who they said they were with their name in the Zoom. So you guys do a good job when you got people trolling. So don't worry, I've already kicked them both out.
Well, that's entertaining, Nick. It's okay. Bring it on, my friend.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I think all press is good press. So
Yeah, I'll do it, or you can do it.
No, it's fine. So can we go to the chat there? There was one question about how much the starter pack is. So how much is it? And then can they get started with it right away?
Yep. The best thing to start with. So Foam Daddy sells a bunch of different cannons. And the cannon that's the biggest seller is what we call the Stacker HD. That's the cannon that has the big yellow blower and the big tube on it. And the reason why you want to go with that cannon generally as if you're going to buy the one that you do is, yeah, you're going to do birthday parties. But as soon as you buy your cannon, you go out there and start doing events, you're going to get a call from a school that wants you to do an event for 150 kids or a fun run or something like that, where you're going to need a piece of equipment that'll work for a smaller event, but also means that you can charge $500 or $1,000 for an hour for a larger event, and you've got equipment that's powerful enough to do that. Now, to walk you through what it's going to take to get started, the Foam Daddy kit is going to run you around
$2,650 just for
okay.
Yeah.
So $2,650, and that's going to get you a Stacker HD cannon, which is again the most popular and sort of the most versatile product. And then on top of that, you're going to want to spend about $1,000 or so to set your business up the right way. Although I love to see all you guys doing parties with Foam Daddy on the side of your cannon. That's not what I teach people to do. I'm sorry, Paul. But look, the right way to do this is to create an entertainment experience. You're not just renting people something. You're creating a branded, high-value experience when you go out to a party. So the way we teach is that your setup is a cannon that's wrapped. You have a branded tent. You have a branded set of barriers. And then you'll need to spend some money on a few things like hoses and electrical cords, that kind of stuff. You'll have roughly $4,000 tied up to get started. But that means that basically your first 10 bookings, you're paid back. An average booking, depending on where you are and what you're doing, birthdays are in the $350 range, typically for an hour, and then more than that for larger events, public events. So it's pretty quick ROI. And if you've never done foam, it's a little bit crazy how when you do a party, how you do one party and you book three, because people are just absolutely bonkers about those are some of my pictures right there. It's people are bonkers about foam. You literally hear kids scream, like the foam comes out and they scream. It's the most amazing, coolest thing ever. And Nick is scrolling through my Facebook. That's a few of our events. I'm all about, high value branding. And we can talk more about branding in a minute, but my recommendation is if you are in the bounce house business, you're in the party business, I highly, highly recommend that you don't put this under a rental umbrella or under your bounce house umbrella. Yeah, you can do it that way, and that's not necessarily wrong. But the people that are the most successful with this brand this as a separate entity, because a customer that's looking to hire a foam party is looking for an expert in their field. I use a steakhouse as an example. If you're looking to eat a nice steak, you don't go to Olive Garden or Taco Bell. You go to Morton's, you go to Ruth's Chris. And with this, you want to be a specialist in being an expert at foam. And the better job you brand it as foam, and the more you position yourself as an entertainment and events expert with foam, the higher you're going to be able to charge and the more you're going to book. It's just, we've seen this with hundreds of people, and there's just data that really supports that that's the way to do it.
Yeah, this picture right here, I think you posted this, I don't know, it might have been a year or two ago, but you were talking about how the bounce house is empty and everybody's in the foam.
Yeah, and that's typical at an event. The foam cannon, foam always is the draw. Now, you also see in some of the pictures that you're pulling up there a lot of bubbles. We also have a bubble product that's in our brand that we go with this. And the reason being is that, first of all, allows me to sell that as either a second activity at a party where that customer wants to give me money and I'm happy to take it. So that'll be sold in addition to foam, or that is a great winter product. And then we scale that up as a full-scale bubble festival. Like next Saturday, I'm going to Seattle, and we'll have 4,000 or 5,000 people at a mall for our 2-hour event. And we do a full-on bubble festival with bubble machines and activities and all the kinds of science and science stations and craft stations. And I'll get $7,000 for a 2-hour event, plus what I'll sell for merchandise. So if you're looking to scale this, foam is but sort of one step into this whole process if you really want to build something with this.
Yeah, somebody had asked a question. The chat's been super active, so let me see if I can find it. But it was basically asking, oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, so it was Clay. Clay asked, what's the feasibility of starting a foam pit or foam party business with no jumpers, no bounce houses, with a cannon? And if so, would insurance be different from traditional bounce house business?
So I do not own a bounce house. I've never owned a bounce house. I have no interest in building a bounce house. And I will do $350,000 worth of foam parties this year.
And they're good. It's good margins too, guys.
Oh, yeah, it's very good margins. My margin on that is about 60% after all my overhead.
Yeah, and you're
talking,
absolutely. Yeah,
you do not need to be in the bounce house business to do this. I would say that the majority of our people that are the most successful with this, and correct me if you guys disagree, are not bounce house people. They are folks that have sort of intentionally not gotten into the bounce house business. And actually, it's funny, as we were at this longer, you'd be amazed how often I have somebody that will message me. I mean, I wake up most mornings and I've got 15 or 20 messenger messages from various phone people. And it's really amazing how in the last couple of months, I've had a couple of people reach out to me who've said, I started and I had some bounce houses, and I'm actually going to sell the bounce houses and just focus on foam because it's easier. It's a lot less work. It's higher margin. I can do more in a day. I don't have to have a warehouse. I don't have to have trucks and trailers. It's really interesting how some people have, I guess, evolved in their thought process on that, where they started out as bounce house people and now they're like, I don't want to do bounce houses anymore because I make a lot more money at foam. I mean, you guys have had those conversations as well.
Yeah, but I also know from experience that a lot of successful people that are in the bounce house industry can jump into the foam, and because you're going after the exact same clientele. So if you already own an existing successful bounce house company, you can jump into this, or email them a video, text your top 10, favorite clients that already love you, show them this video and be like, hey, we're getting into this. We just bought this machine. What do you guys think? Blah, blah, blah. Just send it over to them. The video really sells it, because once they see the foam and the kids playing in it, they're like, yeah, I've done the bounce house a few times with you. I love you. You guys do great work. You guys, I love your team. I want to, I want to support you a little bit more. I want to, book that foam party. So, definitely you already have that clientele. You can instantly start getting bookings. A lot of people actually book it, get bookings, take money, and then buy the machine and then start doing foam parties. So there's an opportunity, just like we said before, you can use our videos, our pictures to book events and then get it and then start doing those events. So it goes, you're going after the exact same clientele. The same person that wants a slide is going to want a foam party. But the nice thing is a slide sometimes is only geared towards ages 10 to 15 or 16, but the foam is really, you can do kids in, as small as 2 years old could be in the foam. And then you can be at a middle school during the middle day. And in the evening, you can do a teen event or a college event. So it's a wide range of availability. A lot of times the product is really geared towards soft play, middle schoolers or adults or, bigger kids. So this kind of can go over all of it. So that's the nice thing about the foam.
I see two examples on my screen here to show you that. So both ends of the spectrum. So Justin, Justin's like a full-on party guy. He has
I was honestly just about to speak too, because I
everything.
like the number one segue for schools this year for me was my foam machine. And I was in any school event that I had previously, I was easily slapping $1,000, $2,000 on every single order. Be like, oh, well, you need a foam pit. You have all these little kids and stuff like that. And all you gotta say, registered resource for autism, registered resource for the blind. Gets them every time.
And then thank you, Justin. At the other end of the spectrum, I see Graham over on the other side. Rogers is a magician friend of mine here in Phoenix. Graham and I have been friends for 15 years probably. And Graham is a magician like me. He does assemblies and birthday parties and stuff. And then he got into foam, and he's never owned a bounce house in his life, never touched it. I don't know, Graham, do you want to say anything real quick? Because you're sort of the opposite of the spectrum from Justin.
Sure. I mean, I'll give you an example. I would never buy a bounce house. I mean, I hats off to the people that do it, but I've done events and I do a lot of school work with assembly shows, and then they book me for foam for end of year. And you see the bounce houses in the school districts are allowed them, which is very few now. They get there like an hour and a half before you. They set up in the heat of Arizona, and they're still there 2 hours after you, packing down and cleaning off the stuff. And I'm on the way to another event. I mean, if you can't get into someone's house or even any event and get set up in 30 minutes and be out in 30 minutes after the event, you're doing something wrong. And I've had time when I've hit traffic and panicked and got there of 20 minutes to 1, the party starts at 1. I'm set up to go by 1 o'clock. It's the easiest thing you'll ever do. And I joke with my school clients now, as I call it my COVID savior, because there was no income for a magician or especially a school assembly presenter. And Chris got me into it because he was too busy, and it's easy. The one tip I'll give everybody is don't discount this game. Stick to your prices. Look, there's a lot of people have got into it recently that are discounting. I had a client call today saying they could get it for $100 cheaper, and I just tell them to book it. I'm never going to discount my price, because once you do it once, you're going to be discounting to everybody. Provide what Chris said, a professional setup. Make sure your tent, your cannon, your shirts, your hats, everything you can brand it the same color, the same logo, and no one will ever buck your price.
Thanks, Graham.
One of the things that I thought was so fun. So we did our first. All right, here you go. First cameo. Boom. Here she is. So you want to wave? You want to say hi to everybody? You want to tell them your name? Nope, she's gonna be shy. So we did our first foam party not long after we got our HD stacker. And so I went and did the party right myself, and I took 2 employees just to be sure that we were all good to go. And as soon as we start the party, right, the music starts and the kids are like dying for foam. We start shooting foam, and like Chris said, they start going nuts the second it starts coming out the cannon. And then what I loved so much about the experience was that I was there and I got to watch the kid, right? You get to shoot foam at the kids and then watch the kids, right? And I'm filming the kids all having a blast. And then we had we shot foam for about like 50 minutes. And the kids, you could hear them yelling to each other, "This is the best birthday party I've ever been to." And then after it's over, like they're coming up and kind of playing around with us because they were like 9, 10-year-old kids. And a couple of them, yes, hold on one sec, baby. And a couple of them were like, "This is the best birthday party ever. I have to tell my mom about you. I have to have this party." And it was just the magic or the pride that you get being able to offer that to the kids was incredible. I loved it.
Awesome.
And Nick, I've been there. I've met all of your guys that work for you. Your employee profile, all your guys that work for you, we get along great with all the guys that work for me because it's the same people that work for you in Indiana or Louisiana that work for me. You've got a lot of young people that are 18 to 21, 22 years old. I have 11 cannons, so there's a lot of days during the summertime when we will be at 8 or 9 locations simultaneously at daycares and summer camps, and it's all these are not these are young people I send out, my nieces and nephews and folks that are high school and college students, and they do a great job, and none of them drive a big truck or anything like that. You can fit this stuff in the back of a Ford Escape or a vehicle like that, and it works. And so it isn't, you don't need to send somebody out who can lift 300 pounds. My nieces, who are all 5'5", are able to do this with no problem at all.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say is like, so Graham is in the same area that Chris is in. Chris does $350,000 worth of foam. Everyone would probably think, well, I'm not going to get in that, I'm not going to try to compete with Chris or whatever. There is plenty of money for everybody. That's like trying to think that like 1 or 2 or 5 foam machines can, or bounce houses could take could take care of the whole city. There's plenty of money everywhere. Graham does amazing. He does hundreds of foam parties a year. Chris does hundreds of foam parties a year in the same area. And the thing is when you go to a foam party and there's 30 kids, even though Chris has been doing it for about 4 years, 5 years now, you have thousands of foam parties under his belt. There's probably, out of those 40 kids, there might be 1 kid that has ever been to a foam party ever before. The other kids are still going, "Oh my God, this is," but if you ask them the exact same question, how many of you have been to a foam, or how many kids have been here, with a bounce house? I'm sure about 90% of them, 95% of them have been to a party with a bounce house. So the market is still very fresh, very new, and we're getting new kids every single year. Everyone grows up, and you know what I mean? Because everyone's like, "Oh, I thought the foam party stuff is a fad or whatever." It's like, no, it's not, and very, very few kids have actually still been to a foam party. And even if they've been to a couple, they still love it. But, like I said, maybe 1 kid out of 40 has ever been to one of.
I want to add 2 things to that point too. Like in my area, I was the first company to start a foam business in my area. There is now 5 different companies in Buffalo, and I did not lose money this year. And I actually made a lot more money in foam this year than anything. I actually got more bookings because they're doing ads and they're doing advertisements, and I'm running ads too. And they're like, "Oh, well, Buffalo Foam Parties didn't answer. They're a book, so I called you. He recommended you." Like, I'm getting more business because there's more people in my area, not less at all. And then back to the employee thing that Chris and Nick were mentioning about, my guys like literally fight over doing foam parties. Like they argue, like, who's doing the foam party tonight? Who's gonna actually do it? Like, who are you gonna send? You said to me, right? You're gonna send me to the foam party? Be like, yeah, I heard it was at this chick's house and stuff like that. But you just don't tell them it's at a church, because then they have to listen to church music all day. As soon as they find out that, then suddenly nobody wants to do the foam party. But they think it's a college party every single time. They love it. I just don't.
We have so much fun. I love going. I get yelled at because I dance to the Kids Bop and I dance badly, and I get yelled at by my staff that I'm embarrassing them sometimes. But it's funny. Like, I really feel as though that no matter what amount of money I would pour into marketing, our market is about 5.2 million people here. So we're the 5th largest market in the United States. But I feel like no matter what amount of money I would pour into marketing, it would come back to me. I'm on the way over here to Foam Day today. I drove by one of my own billboards on the freeway, and I never imagined that I would drive by my own billboard on the freeway, right? But here I am. And it, you know, as I've scaled up, I continue to make those sorts of investments that continue to scale me, and the ROI is still there every single time. I almost feel like there's really no limit to what I could accomplish with this. It's really amazing.
That's
Can
fantastic.
I add one thing, Chris?
Go ahead.
It's just a couple of things. One of the things you told me a long time ago when we were talking birthday party magic, which I don't really do. I mean, I've covered a couple for you, but how many kids are born on every single day of it in Arizona or in your state? Those are future customers, and we don't have enough foam machines to cater to them all. And then the second thing is, don't think of the good operators in your area as competition. Think of them as people you can work with. I know that if I get an event that I can't do, I'll send it to Chris, because he will still do it at the same high standard that I would do. Chris jokes at me because he says I was an illusionist for a long time in the magic world, and everything I do must look perfect. I hide cables, everything's taped down. It has to look like a professional show. So find the people in your area and align with them and strive to be as good as them. And then no one will ever question your price.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I had a good question pulled up on the Zoom, but then I don't know if I touched it and it went away. The question, I'm not going to give credit to the person because I can't find it because the chat is too busy here, but they were asking basically, do people search, Google search foam parties to where it's that viable, or if not, how are you getting bookings, or how are you scaling the business?
Well, let me tell you how the market has evolved here, because I have the benefit of sort of having been at this a lot longer than, or at least a few seasons longer than a lot of the other folks are doing it. So 5 or 6 years ago, when I first got my first Canon, I did everything with Facebook. And I'm really good at running Facebook ads that work. I've written a couple of books about it. We can put a link in that later. But I'm really, really good. My ROI on Facebook still, from foam party ads, my fire truck party business, I have a lot of unique concepts. My typical ROI is about 30 times what I spend on Facebook. It's just bonkers. If I spend, $10 or $20 a day on one of the brands for a Facebook ad, I'll book most days 2 or 3 parties because of that investment. It's crazy. So it was very much driven by Facebook back then. This market, as it's grown here in Phoenix, where foam parties are sort of a little more of a known concept, although I still think that if you stopped 100 people on the street, I still think 90 of them would have no idea what a foam party is. Or the perception of a foam party is that it's something they did in Cancun on spring break, and they sort of remember it because they'd had a lot of margaritas that afternoon. And that's what they think a foam party is. The idea of it being a kids' entertainment concept that you can bring to a daycare or preschool or a summer camp or a kid's birthday that's got, fun music, and it's not, chicks in the pool type thing. I think that's a perception issue that's shifted as well. But in this market, now that the market has grown, I found that I'm now spending money on AdWords, and my AdWords are performing really, really well also. So I think that there's an evolution. If there's nobody in your market doing foam and you don't think anybody knows, I think probably it's a social media play at the first season or two. I think that once you become established and you've had a couple of thousand people that have attended your events where they've seen it, then I think it grows into more of a social media and Google play in terms of your marketing strategy as the business evolves and as your presence in the marketplace evolves as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the exact advice that I've given people that are newer to it, or talking about getting a Canon for their bounce house businesses. I tell them, I'm like, oh, the bounce house business is not a very visually appealing thing to where you can run a Facebook ad and have a high ROI, because it's just a bounce house. It's just a water slide. Whereas the foam is kind of the opposite, right? And then in the bounce house business, right, that business is so established that people are Googling bounce house rental or water slide rental. Whereas in the foam, if you're in a market where it's new, like I was the first person into my market to where Google ads, nobody knew it existed, so nobody's searching it. So the way I booked parties was Facebook, because you have the photos, you have the videos, and you can really, really put it into the creative part And then that almost shows them it exists, or kind of talks them into giving you a call, that kind of thing. And so I always get
Facebook's
that.
a discovery medium. You know, if you think about your own behavior on Facebook, you'll be going through Facebook on your phone, wherever you are. And, you know, my target is moms, right? When I do my Facebook ads, I target women from 25 to about 52 years old who are parents. And I write the ads in a very specific way. But, you know, those moms are using, people wonder, is, you know, Facebook still viable? But there are billions of people on Facebook still. And if you're a parent, I mean, think of you guys that are watching, their parents. Facebook is how you let grandma see pictures of your kids. Facebook is how you communicate with the PTA at school and the kids' soccer team, and you have your neighborhood Facebook group and whatever. So Facebook is still the default way that our demographic communicates with their community. They're not doing that on Instagram, because you can't have a group on Instagram with the other PTA moms or things like that. So Facebook is where it's at, and there's still very high engagement from our target demographic there. But you know, as you're going through Facebook, you know, you're killing time because you can't sleep at night, or you're waiting for to you know, waiting in this pickup line at school. Those moms are looking through Facebook, and you discover things on Facebook when you stumble across posts for stuff you weren't looking for, and you stumble across a foam party and go, holy cow, I was looking for a good idea for little Johnny's birthday party. And that's really the thought process that drives this business for me, is that I want people to discover this idea and go, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to book this for my party. And I should point out, by the way, if you're new at this or you're thinking about this, we give you all that material. I've got hundreds of great photos. We produce videos, all this kind of stuff that we give you if you're a Foam Daddy customer. So literally tonight, you could be promoting this on your Facebook page, and we're happy to help you do that, because if you're successful, we're successful. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I went out and did a Christmas light bid for a city today. And like, you know, I just drop in there that I've got the bounce house business, and they're like, oh, we got this event. We might need this, that. I'm like, yeah, we can get you all set up. And we're walking back over to kind of say our goodbyes. And she turns to me and goes, you don't have a bubble machine, do you? I'm like a foam? Like, oh, yeah, a cannon that shoots foam. Is that what you're talking about? She said, yeah. We need one for our fun run and da. I was like, yeah, if you want colors, you let me know what you want. And we were talking Christmas lights for the city, right? So they're excited about that. And then they're talking bounce houses, they're excited for that. The second that I said that I had the foam cannon and we could shoot at the fun run, the two ladies like came unglued. It was so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I may land the Christmas light job, right, because of the foam. We'll see.
That's exactly how I've been successful, Nick. It's exactly that. You know, I call it the octopus strategy. You have all these tentacles out, right? And the idea is that somewhere along the line, each tentacle has the potential to grab something and bring it back to your mouth. And once it's in your mouth, then you can connect it to all the other tentacles. And that's exactly why. I mean, I have at this point 9 different brands. They're all marketed separately. They're all branded separately. And that absolutely is key to me being able to open doors a lot of places. They may not be interested in a fire truck party, but boy, they're interested in booking me for a magic show or a foam party or miniature golf. And then once I've got them in my grips, I cross-sell and upsell and all that other stuff. And it works like a charm.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Nick.
I'm back
off mute. I
and
want to
forth
talk.
from
We have one question about the inline system. Can I address that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Lawrence.
All right. So this is just a piece of the inline system. So I love this little machine. So the question was, can you dial in the foam solution?
Well, tell them what it is first. Yeah.
So the inline system. So what this does is it replaces the need to have that large bucket of water that you're going to take and mix the ready-to-go solution. All you need now is this, and there's a couple other components that come with it. Constant water supply. And what happens is one of these sides of the tubes here, I got it upside down. The side of the tube goes into your solution, and then all you need to do is that little center dial that you turn it up and down. And what that allows you to change is the amount of solution that's going into it. So the question was, can you adjust it on the fly? Yes. The other system still works amazing. It's great. A lot of users still use it. The catch with that is once you take that large barrel, 40 gallons, 50 gallons, whatever you're using, once you mix the solution in, that's it. It's mixed. What's nice about that one is if you find you need some more, you add some more. If the party ends early for one reason, or you don't need it as thick, you just dial it back. So yes, the inline system allows you to change and dial in all of those things.
Does it use
We've got
solution?
a whole video series, by the way, that explains all this.
Yeah.
if you search Foam Daddy Vimeo, and I'll have Lawrence put a link in, we have about 25 professionally produced videos that literally teach you everything about this A to Z. And the best thing to do if you're interested in foam or learn more about some of the technical stuff is to sit down, take an hour and just watch that series of videos. And by the time you're done, you're going to be pretty smart about foam.
Yeah, when I first got the Canon, we did our first event we did at like my own kid's birthday party, so we could kind of test everything, and the mixing of the gel solution and diluting it and then putting it into the barrel. Like the first time through was a little confusing, but as soon as I went and watched the videos, I was like, oh, okay, I got this. And then we fired it up, and the kids, we had a 21-foot water slide, we have a pool, and the second that fan turned on and started shooting foam, everything emptied, and all the kids were on the other side of the yard in the foam. It was so funny.
So can I add a little bit to that? You talked about the
Yeah,
easy ability to set it up. There was a chat here, and I think that's AL, one of my friends I've talked to in the past. But I'll tell you, when I was in Kansas City running parties, I'd bring my 11-year-old with me to help with the parties. I will tell you, I went to the backyard the other day when I was in Kansas City before I came up here, and he had some friends over. He took the equipment, took it out in the backyard, and set the equipment up to do a foam party for his friends. I wasn't there. I was super happy he did it without permission, but my point is, my 11-year-old has been trained up on how to set the equipment up. He did it safely. Everything was done like it was supposed to. So if I can teach an 11-year-old how to do it, we can help you all figure out how to do it too.
For sure. All right. Here's a good question. Is
Yeah.
the product popular in the off season, i.e. not the summer? This is from Jessica Newman over on Facebook. And then
Yeah.
do you need a pad, or can the foam lay on the grass? Can you spray the foam on the grass?
The grass, it's fine to be on the grass. In fact, I think we've kind of
Yeah,
suggested
you don't
away
need a
from
pit.
away
There's a pit if you want, but you don't need one.
it's extra work. It really is. But yeah, it's just fine on grass. The only thing I always caution customers on with grass is just be careful. If you're there better than an hour and you've got 50 people or more, it's going to trample the grass. So just making sure you communicate that with the customers. It's not the foam that's the problem. It's the fact that you're dumping a couple hundred gallons of water and they're trampling it. That's usually what happens. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
About climate, right? Was it about-
Climate.
Just
I don't-
when is
I think it's
when
up-
is season?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
when is your peak season?
So here in Phoenix now, I'll answer that in a couple ways. I'm really plugged in with obviously running this community, so I know. So one of my favorite people is up in Alaska. Miguel is his name. Miguel has a short season. He's got about a 3 or 4 month season, but during that season, he absolutely kills it. I have a bunch of people up in Canada. One of our most successful people is Aaron Sherman, who actually his real job, he's an OBGYN, and he does foam parties for fun. Dr. Sherman, he's up in Connecticut, and he'll do in the course of 3 months in the summer, $200,000 worth of business. And he has all these crews of college kids out with 4, 5, 6 cannons, and he goes crazy. And obviously in Connecticut in February, you don't really do a lot of foam parties. Here in Phoenix, we start about 1st of March and end about Halloween. Now, the funny thing is, I do foam parties during the winter, even in November, December, January, February. But a lot of times the issue with that is it's not really what the temperature on the thermometer says. It's the perception by people that, oh, it's cold, it's wintertime. Now, Phoenix wintertime means 70. So it'd be beautiful. Depending on where you live, you might go 70. That sounds like a nice summer day, right? So a lot of it, I think, is perception. But that's why we have the bubble business. In the wintertime, we swap out for bubbles, and I keep that revenue going by substituting it with bubble parties. So that's a good way if you're in a spot where it doesn't necessarily freeze over in the winter, but it's a little cooler. That's how you keep the business going year round, is just substitute another concept. But I would say in places like the Midwest, your Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, places like that, I think your season is reasonably speaking, probably 1st of May-ish through probably 1st to 2nd week of October, which I think is probably a fair statement. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. That's most of it. I can tell you, being a Kansas City guy, I have done a party in 10-degree weather before. The equipment ran flawlessly. The kids didn't play in it as long because it was 10 degrees outside, but we branded it as a snow party instead of a foam party. Same solution, same everything. The kids had a blast. And when I usually talk to customers about it, if they ask if we can do it later, in the season when it's colder, do your kids go out and play in the snow? Well, yeah. Do they go swim in that cold pool at the hotel? Yeah. then they can do a foam party when it's cold outside. Usually what I found is it's not the kids that have the concern, it's the parents. And it's just a perception. It's too cold. But I would
Yeah.
agree. End of October.
Yeah, and my assumption is that that question comes from a bounce house business, right? To where they're probably trying to get revenue in the off season. But what I will say is, for what I've seen, the two definitely overlap, right? Your busy season of bounce houses and water slides is your busy season for foam. However, depending upon how I guess you run your rental business, but we don't go do pickups at night. Like we just leave everything overnight for bounce houses and water slides, just because it's easier for us and it's better for the clients. Like who wants to go pick up slides from drunk parents and kick kids off of it, right? And our phone parties generally kind of skew later in the day, so you can run a whole bounce house drop off route, then go do multiple phone parties after that if needed. If you're a 1 or 2 man, smaller operation, they mesh well. They mesh well together.
And by the way, Nick, I would say that for birthdays, 90% of my birthdays for phone parties are 1 hour. That's the typical format. What you find is kids have an attention span of about 45 to 50 minutes. So an hour is just about perfect. When people book 2 hours, I honestly try to talk them out of it, because that second hour is never as exciting. I'm a believer, because I think like an entertainer, I'm a believer, and you go in and you be strong the whole time and you leave them wanting more. And that's the same philosophy if you go watch a magic show or a puppet show or anything else, even a concert. You want to go in and be strong, present a solid hour, and then leave with them still like feeling pumped up. That's really the best way to structure it.
Yeah, we did one where, yeah, we shot foam for probably 45 minutes. I don't know, the kids and the parents, I was like, we can run it higher, but like we're gonna run out sooner. They're like, nope, send it. And so we're cleaning up after the party's over, and the grandma came up to me and she's like, "Are you the owner?" She starts talking to me. She says, "I was so skeptical about this. She told me she booked this and it's 1 hour, and she told me what she paid." And I was like, 1 hour is not enough. She's like, "That was perfect. Like, you guys are in and out. The party's now over. We all get to go home. We don't have to be here for 4 more hours." She's like, "You guys put on an excellent show, excellent product. That was perfect. The 1 hour was perfect." And then in my brain, I'm thinking, are you kidding me? We were here for 1 hour. Like we were there it was like maybe an hour and 10 minutes, including setup and teardown, and you get the same amount of money that we get for around here, probably a 18, 19, 20 foot water slide. Right. And we're there for an hour and you lift nothing heavy. It was just beautiful, because I was like, oh yeah, this is a good business. This is a good business to be in.
Now, the other thing I should mention is also this is really scalable. I said a few minutes ago, I own 11 cannons. We frequently will do larger events for, let's say, a city or like a 4th of July fireworks, end of the school year party, a fun run, stuff like that, where they'll book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cannons, and we'll fill like an entire parking lot or entire street and be able to put on an event for hundreds of people. And that's where also not only do the number of machines scale, but of course, the check you receive at the end also scales, which is very nice. And of course, for a birthday, for example, we charge $329 for an hour. That'll go to $349 next season. And then there's sometimes a little bit of a travel fee on that, just depending on where they're located in our metro area. My typical foam crew can do 5 1-hour programs in a day pretty easily, sometimes 6 if we have an evening glow party on top of it. So that one employee can generate almost $2,000 in revenue, or about $2,000 in revenue in a day, which is pretty awesome. And then, those larger events, it's not uncommon if it's an event for a couple hours with 4 or 5 cannons to charge between $3,000 and $5,000 for something like that. And your only real cost, aside from labor and the equipment, is obviously the fluid. And our hourly operating cost is anywhere from $10 an hour to $40 an hour. Now, why such a big range? It's pretty simple. If I'm at a kinder care or a daycare, and I'm there for an hour with a bunch of kids that are toddlers, we mean like 1, 2, 3-year-old kids, I'm not going to create a pile of foam that's 8 feet tall on that daycare playground, because that's just not appropriate. So in that situation, I might spend $10 on product for the hour, because that's all I need. Now, if I then leave there and then go to a a high school graduation party with 60 kids that are 18 years old that have drank a lot of Red Bull before we got there, and they're very hyped up and they're very excited. I'm probably going to use 40 bucks worth of product for that because I'm really going to pile it up and really output it. In general use, like birthdays, that type of thing, my hourly operating cost is around $28 to $30. And so it comes in almost exactly over the course of a year when I look at my numbers, at my product cost is about 8% of my revenue. So that's an important factor to consider. I think a lot of people treat foam fluid like it's gold. And the fact is, when you go to a party, the best way to book more parties is to be amazing, right? Like you go and you deliver that epic experience. And sometimes that means that, you spend $5 more on product, but as a result, those pictures more epic, the party's more epic, and it's the cheapest marketing you can possibly have just by doing a great job and creating this epic experience, because people see that and that's what they want at their party.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a lot of names in here that I'm not familiar with, but then there's also a lot of names in here that I am familiar with. So I think a good thing to cover would be, if you own a successful inflatable rental business, what is the move to get foam and to get it going well? Like, what is the best operation to make that happen?
There's two ways to do it. Now, we've been talking a little bit about the full service model, but there is an argument to be made that for some people, for their business structure, a drop-off rental experience is a viable business option. If you don't have the staff, or the way you're structured is such that you feel it's better for your business to rent a foam cannon to somebody like you're renting a bounce house, you drop it off, that morning at 9 o'clock, you teach a birthday party dad how to operate the cannon, you leave them some juice, and you say, okay, we'll see you later, and off you go, and you let the customer do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very successful doing that. Then sort of the flip side of that is the full service model, where you're going for an hour at that party. Your staff member is setting up a branded experience with music and beach balls and sort of signs and other stuff that we do to sort of make it into an entertainment experience. That's the other way. I think that if you want to go with the first option, you can get away with probably including that in your rental site. But I think one of the challenges now, I know a lot of bounce house people, and I've analyzed the business a lot. I think one of the challenges when I look at bounce house websites, whether it's no matter which of the three major companies does your website, is stuff besides bounce houses tends to really get buried in a lot of those sites. People come and look at bounce houses and foam parties and popcorn machines and obstacle courses and trains and all this other, some miniature golf, all gets buried and lost in the bounce house company and the branding of that and just the size of the sites. So I think that you can do it that way, but I would recommend that even if you're doing drop-off parties, make the effort to feature it, because you're going to make a lot more money off of it if you market it properly. And whether that's a separate brand or just you really do a good job and make sure it stands out on your site. But if you're going to do full service, I highly recommend you consider branding it as a foam party brand. And don't, please, for the love of God, guys, don't pick some boring name like Detroit Foam Parties. No, you want to have, you want to be the purple banana foam parties or the flying monkeys foam parties. You want to pick a brand that resonates with kids, that's memorable, that has a visual. And when they see your setup and they've seen a party, they didn't just see a foam party, but they saw the Bubble Maniacs. And there is no way that they cannot remember that's who they saw, because you were so intense with your branding and made a good choice that's memorable, that that's part of the experience, is that you've chosen a brand that is just amazing and really seems. The best compliment is we do a party and somebody says to me, hey, are you a part of some big national company? Are you like a franchise or something? So, that you look at the way a Kona Ice truck pulls up, for example. I know all you guys know Kona Ice. You've seen their events. You look at the way their trucks look and the way their brand looks. That's the level of experience. Oh, Kirk, are you a snowy guy? That's okay. We love the snowy folks too. We were up in Salt Lake City with them a few months ago. But point is that, you see the branding and you see the presence of that brand at an event, and you feel it when you're at an event. And that's sort of the vibe we're going for. You want it to be memorable because your brand is just so solid and so out there.
Yeah, I get the question a lot of, if I buy the foam cannon, will it make me money? And my answer is always like a long paragraph where I say, if you think it's like, you can go buy an 18-foot water slide and put it in your inventory, and it just starts renting because they're there for water slides and they see it and they'll just start renting it. Whereas the foam cannon is a totally different entity, to where if you just put foam cannon section on your website, that doesn't mean anything. You have to do something to stand out. And I give the same advice, whether you want to start a separate LLC and go down that route, or if you just want to go hard on it on your website and make its own landing page, but you've got to do something to set it apart. The more you put in, or no, I'm gonna say it like this. What I tell them is, you have to be ready to almost start a second business in order to have the foam be profitable if you already have the inflatable business, because it is a separate business. And so, and I caution people to where I'm like, if you've got the money, but you don't have the ambition, like then don't do it. This takes ambition. This takes vision. This takes a new brand or a lot of branding. But when you do it right, you're going to see the benefits wholeheartedly come through. And when I tell you the work is easier, it's like, I don't even know the percent. It's 1% of the work of a water slide that makes the same amount of money.
So I definitely want to weigh in on the foam machine rental thing for sure. So I feel like there's a happy medium between both. I've done both. I think you should do both, but you should not let your rental side mess with your in-person experience side. What do I mean by that? For example, I have my foam machine for $300 and my foam party, like a rental for the machine, $300, and then a foam party is $350. But I have to sell you an hour worth of solution. So now it's going to be $400 plus delivery. So it costs more for an hour as a rental than it does for an hour foam party. But after that second hour, it starts to actually like kick in. Okay. Now you start making more money in the long run off the rental because it's sitting there and you're selling the solution because it's an all-day rental. If you were to just rent the machine and you're leaving there for a day, you're not going to be able to make as much money than if you were to do a in-person service business, because like Chris said, you can do 6 in a day. So that, like, the goal is to not just like, you could totally just buy a bunch of machines and rent them out for the day and flip them. We do them with bounce houses all the time. Whereas you can get a machine out more doing man parties and the hour parties. Plus, you don't want the wear and tear on your machines for a 1 hour party, and you're just getting that 1 hour price. You're better off having your guys go set up and do it. And not just do the rentals, if that makes sense. It's you really want to make sure that your price is gauged to where, like, because at the end of the day, if your rental price is cheaper than your foam party price and they can just do it, boom. But for $50 more, I come to your house, I bring a speaker and do everything. Most people do that 1 hour party that's looking for it. Now, who does the rentals? Schools that don't want to pay all that crazy amount of money, and they'll do the staffing and whatnot. Fundraising groups and nonprofits, 5K runs and stuff like that, and then special event companies and concert people. So they're all people that, like, you're getting into that game now. You're getting into the production equipment world. That's when you start buying a snow machine and t-shirt launchers and stuff like that. I bought a t-shirt launcher for $600 and I sold it for like $1,200 to to Clay Walker band. It's like you start getting into those markets. They t-shirts and foam machines. It's just you got to think more of like a production aspect when you start doing your foam rentals. So I'm not off topic.
Yeah, we did one where I did test the rental. It was a school, and I was worried they were going to fly through solution. And so I probably scared her too much, but then the guys got back to the shop after picking it up, and I was like, oh God, let me see the bucket. And there was like none out of it. And I reached out to the principal who always books us. It's an event we've done 2-3 years in a row. And she was very hesitant to give me any feedback. And so that I was like, yeah, I'm done with the rental part. We're gonna do staffed only, so we can make sure that we're there. We're making sure everything goes according to plan, managing everything. It's just, in my opinion, for the foam parties, your staffed version is a better product.
I agree with that.
Sorry, my 9-year-old was talking to me. But yeah, I just think it's that's what it is. That's, to me, that's just what the best model is for this product. Is it's an experience that you can go shoot foam and kind of recreate that Cancun, like you said earlier, Chris.
Can I switch gears for a minute? Because I know the way these Zooms work is it's sort of the numbers drop off as the longer we at. So while we're still sort of in prime time here, I want to switch gears for a second and talk about Foam Universe, if I could, because that's a source of a huge amount of personal pride for me. And I want to sort of share our approach to this. So a year ago today, we had this crazy idea that we should put together a foam conference. So Paul and I flew to Las Vegas for the day, and we looked at a bunch of hotels, and we said, okay, we want to do a conference on foam. Nothing had ever been done. And when you go to IAPA, for example, right, you see the show floor and there's some classes, but there's really nothing that's sort of what we're talking about right now, which is the business of foam, how to really build a foam business and really do it successfully. And we wanted to put together a conference to do that. So in January, 8 months ago, we ended up hosting the first Foam Universe in Las Vegas. And it's funny because as we were planning, we were hoping that maybe 50 people would show up. If we had 50 people come, we were going to be like, really, we were like, wow, 50 people came. Well, we ended up with 157 people, which was pretty amazing. And we had just a terrific experience. And I'm proud to say that so many people that were there have really this year sort of launched their businesses in a huge way, whether they were new or already at this, but it proved to be very successful as an event, but also the value it brought to people was wonderful, how that brought success to them. And, we talked about everything from marketing to SEO, to how to set up equipment, to marketing techniques that were specific to certain kinds of customers, how much you should charge, just anything and everything imaginable to do with foam. So we had so much fun, we decided we're going to do it again for 2024. And we're going to do it in your backyard, Nick, in New Orleans. It'll be January 14th to 16th at the Lowe's, New Orleans. We always do it right. We always pick a good hotel. We want you folks to come and be able to have a couple of days sort of during a downtime of year, bring your family along and have fun and have just a really nice trip. So we'll have 2.5 days of classes with speakers and hands-on stuff and surprises and fun activities. We'll feed you really well. You get to hear from people that are really successful at doing this. And then the day after Foam Universe, Nick, I think, is going to teach a Christmas lighting workshop if anybody wants to stick around. And then we've got some other workshops that we're going to be adding on that are from other folks in the industry that maybe you don't want to make the effort to fly somewhere for a full day workshop for just that. But if you can sort of kill two birds with one stone, it's a reason to come to Foam Universe and stick around and take part in something else. So it's sort of a win-win. So if you want information on it, it's at foamdaddy.com. Click on the Foam Universe Conference. And then, of course, in the Foam Daddy official user group on Facebook, we're talking a lot about it as well. It's just it's such a worthwhile investment in your business if you're already doing this or you want to do it. And if you're brand new or you're already experienced, we've got tracks set up that we serve the needs of everybody so that you're going to come and learn something regardless of where you're at in your journey with this.
Yeah, the Lowe's.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, it's only a couple things about the conference. One, we did a little bit last year, but this year for sure, there's at least one and maybe two segments we're still working out where it's going to be all about beginners. Okay, we're going to bring a bunch of equipment. We're going to set it up. We're going to mix gel. We're going to talk about hoses. We're going to run some foam. I mean, we're going to do everything start to finish. so that people really see it hands-on. I think it's important. The videos are great. You can jump on a call with someone like Paul or Christopher or myself, and we'll help you, but there's nothing that's going to replace actually working together on it. So that's kind of neat addition or expansion. As far as the convention, so I had my business a little bit better than a year ago, and I was going to tell you about my wife. She thought it was cool. It was a neat business, kind of fun. I go out on the weekends and do it, but really wasn't interested in doing it. She came to the convention last year with me. She heard the same things that I had said at home on the couch. She watched the same videos with me at the same time. Wasn't interested. She went to the conference. I can tell you tonight, she's executing a 2-hour double cannon color party by herself. Actually, I say by herself. I think she took my 11-year-old with her. But that's what happened by her going to the conference. She got so much knowledge, so much energy out of it that she just executed a double cannon 2-hour party, and I'm not there. I have looked at my cell phone several times. I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous, but that's what that convention brings. It brings all that knowledge. It brings that confidence. It gives you a different way to look at things. It's well worth the money. So my point of view.
Yeah, and the Lowe's Hotel is a nice hotel. And then it is right across the street from a very nice shopping center right there called Riverwalk. And then you're, I don't even know, maybe 3 blocks, like you're walking distance from the French Quarter, from Bourbon Street, from all that. And it's right by the casino if you're into that, or right by Harrah's, which is always a good time. So I was unable to attend the Foam Universe in Vegas, which I was super duper bummed about. But I'm excited beyond belief to be there this year in New Orleans. And then I can kind of be a local guide if anybody wants to hit the town, and I can tell you where to go, where to eat, whatever you want to eat, you can eat it in New Orleans. The food's amazing. So it's going to be a fantastic time. I'm very, very excited.
And that's January 14th to 16th. And also our special hotel rates. It's only $169, by the way. Nick, you know what a nice hotel that is because you're local. So it's $169 for that hotel. And that was the nicest hotel in New Orleans. We toured a lot of them. So it's a beautiful property. And, a lot of the rooms are view of the river, which is so cool. You're in your room and you see,
The river
paddle wheels going by and stuff. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
So there's a question in chat here about timing. So are these mainly booked on the evenings, weekends? Do we find that we have phone parties during the week?
Let's get to that.
Sure. So I would answer yes. So most of the phone parties are going to be on the weekends. That's when the birthday parties are happening. So Saturday, Sunday. For me, my experience has been between 1 and 4, 1 and 5 o'clock. That's kind of where everybody wants to book for one reason or another. But this year I was excited. I changed up the marketing a little bit, learned some stuff from my friend Christopher, did some things differently. I've got parties all throughout the week. Sometimes they're birthday parties, mainly they're after school programs, daycare groups, a few of the schools that might run year round. That's kind of what I find during the weekdays. But if you're looking for the backyard standard birthday party, yeah, it's pretty much on the weekends. But there is business during the weekdays. You just have to market it differently. It's a different customer entirely. So
if you're not making money with whatever you're doing now, Monday through Friday during the summer, you're missing a huge opportunity. As I said earlier, there were a lot of days this summer on a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday morning when we were at 6 or 8 different schools simultaneously. And that's just doing phone parties, not to mention my 2 fire trucks, magic shows, and miniature golf. There were a lot of days, like on a weekday this summer, when we did 20 or 25 events between the various brands. And particularly in the summer, your local daycares and your summer camps are so anxious for stuff to do for their kids and their campers. They have budget, they have money burning a hole in their pocket, and that daycare director, roundabout March or April, says, oh, summer's coming up, I gotta book it. And they go, okay, well, what can we bring for the kids this summer to the daycare? Okay, let's book a magician, right? Okay, maybe we'll book the reptile lady. There's a reptile lady or a juggler or something like that. But then beyond that, what else is there that they can really book to spend that money they want to spend? A foam party is perfect. A lot of the schools and camps we go to a couple times during the summer, so if you're not making money during the summer on weekdays and you've got, people that are you want to put to work on your team, this is a really good way. Now, by the way, I need to qualify that by saying that's not something you start marketing on June 1st, guys. That's something you start marketing, even if you're in a market where it's cold, you start that marketing in February and March with direct mail, with those sorts of efforts, so that by the time the weather warms up, your schedule's full already.
So somebody in the Facebook asked a question, Christopher Riley. What is the all-in cost? Oh, Chris, I know Chris Riley. What's the cost to buy 4 cannons and supplies to get up and running?
4 cannons? I guess
Did you say 4 cannons? Is that?
Yeah.
4 cannons.
4 times 26.
So roughly 10 grand.
Yeah, so 10 grand for supplies, and Chris knows what he's doing on the start a business side, so he knows he has that all on lockdown. So
So four stacker HDs, roughly 10K for 4 of them. So roughly 10K.
yeah, and that number is to start a business. I have this conversation with people all the time, mostly in the inflatable business, but that number to start a business should excite you, not scare you away. Like you can't go start any business for under $100,000 realistically, right? I had a friend that was looking to open a coffee shop, and she was asking me questions, right? Not that I know anything about coffee shops, but she was asking me questions about how you leave your job and that kind of stuff, motivation, inspiration, whatever. And I said, well, just do me a favor, like tell me what you're in all in, like, because I know a cappuccino machine is more than what we just talked about, right? A real one, like a commercial one. And it was 120,000. I don't remember the exact number, but I was just kind of like, that's crazy that somebody would seek my advice to go start a business in something I don't know anything about, and the startup cost is north of 100 grand, and then the amount of work and margin that has to go, or the lack of margin in the coffee business or in food in general, right? It was just a conversation that really grounded me to where I was like, the rental business that we're in has such low startup costs where you can come in with a little bit of cash and really, 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 really make a name for yourself. I think it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing.
Well, Nick, even specific in this industry, for example, if you go out and buy a Milco miniature golf course right now, an 18-hole mini golf course, and you put it in a trailer, you're going to have $30,000 to $32,000 in it. If you want to get into axe throwing, you're going to have $20,000 to $30,000 in that. So if you want to buy one cannon, get your nice imprinted tent, your barriers, wrap your cannon, you're roughly $4 grand into it. You're in an order of magnitude far less than a lot of other things that are even within our industry, but you can drive, it's not that difficult if you do this right with one cannon to drive approaching 6 figures of revenue if you're successful with your marketing and your branding and you really do things the right way. It's not, and the funny thing is, there are very few people that in our community that are doing this that own just one cannon. I have a lot of people in a lot of places that have 4, 5, 6 cannons because they need that many to be able to do large events and to be able to satisfy the demand. It's very scalable, which is pretty nice. It's sort of like water slides in a way. I mean, you can buy, you buy one, or you can buy 6, and it's just 6 of them go out. This becomes very scalable once you get some momentum and get going. It's very hard to do this with just one cannon because you'll find that everybody wants 10 o'clock Saturday morning. So you either turn down that party, you go, well, for a couple of $1,000 I can get another one and capture that revenue, and it pays for itself very fast.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, let's switch gears a little bit. I'd like to get your guys' input on staffing, right? So if you guys are successful entrepreneurs, which you obviously are, you guys know how to staff and know what it's like to build a team. I get that question very, very, very often. And my answer, I got it today. Actually, I was on the phone call today with someone that was buying Christmas lights from us. And it was Ken and Stacy. And they asked, well, how do you find an installer like you? How do you find someone that can hang? How do you build your team? And my answer always sucks, where it's just like, I don't know how to tell you, what to do. It's just intuition. Like I just go build teams. So I'd like to kind of open that conversation up and get your guys' take on it to see if you guys have a little bit more tactical advice than I ever have.
I'm a huge believer in hiring intelligent, personable young people. I really am a believer in hiring young people. I think that sharp, well put together high school and college students are really my secret weapon. They're enthusiastic. They have and I hire for good attitude. As an example, I went through the car wash a couple of days ago, and I'm obsessed about getting my car washed. So I get my car washed a lot. If you know me, my car is always clean. So I have my little sticker on the window where I go unlimited car washes, like in a lot of your cities. So there's this car wash that's on the way here from between here, Foam Daddy and my house. that I stopped in a couple times a week. And I noticed there's a new guy working there that every time I pull in and I put the window down to scan my thing, he comes over and just like, oh, hi, sir, how are you? How are you today? And is everything good? And by the second or third time I went through there, I thought, wow, this kid is like well put together kid. He's got a good attitude. He's a good speaker. I handed him my business card when I went through the other day and said, hey, you know what? I would love to talk with you if you ever leave this job, or if you're interested in working on weekends or whatever, to come work for me. Here's my card. Give me a call. And I would imagine the next few days, I'll probably get a call or text from him, because so I'm always handing out business cards. If I'm in a Starbucks and I meet somebody that gives me good service, if I'm at a school and I meet a school employee who does a good job, I give my card. And we've hired a lot of people that way. A lot of the guys work for me. It's all through referral. Most of the guys that are 18, 19, 20 that work for me, they have a list of 6 or 8 friends that are dying to come work for us because we pay well, we treat them well. And when we don't just pay people, we treat them with nice meals, and we have fun with them, and we take them on hot air balloon rides and go to Main Event or Dave and Buster's, and that's fun for us to be able to build a team of people that we know get it, and we have a good relationship with and good communication with. And I know that when they're out there representing me and they're representing my brand and my livelihood, I know that I can trust them to do a good job. I think the biggest problem I have with employees, and we can never emphasize this enough, is communication. It is very hard to over communicate. And as an example, let's say I've got one of my team on the way to do a foam party, right? And we normally show up for a foam party about 15 minutes before. And you inevitably, 1 out of every 20 parties, about 20 or 30 minutes before, you'll get a call from that customer who's like, oh, the guys aren't here yet, because they think you show up like 3 hours early to set up the equipment, even though we tell them and reconfirm it, we'll be there 15. So about a half hour before they get nervous. And it's always one of those situations where I say to the client, I say, well, I hang up with you and check in with my guy, but I know they'll be there in time, things like that. And like one of the things is I tell them, look, if you're running a little bit late, you need to communicate with me. You need to communicate with the office. You need to communicate with the client. And it's just little stuff like that where the communication, I think, is an ongoing thing we always work on. And I think also just making sure that even if you've had a rough day or the rough night the night before, that you're personable. We're selling not just a foam cannon, but we're selling a customer service experience. And if you're going to go, I try to have companies that are high up is like my companies I aspire to be like. If you've never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, for example, or been shopping at Neiman Marcus, those are the places that a lot of my customers are regular customers of. And so they're used to a high level of quality in terms of the service and the way they're treated and the way they're spoken to. And I try to make sure that my employees treat those customers the same way they'd be treated if they were a guest at the Ritz-Carlton, or they went to buy a pair of shoes over at Neiman Marcus. And I think that, you've got to just look at these companies that deliver exemplary service and try to make sure that your team understands how those companies work and what that experience is like. And we try to deliver that same sort of level.
Yeah, that blueprint kind of, follows. I mean, you've met, my employees last year. That blueprint follows what I do, where you bring on, I'm a firm believer in interviewing, and I give long interviews. I just actually put up a YouTube video of the cameras just shooting me doing an interview the whole time. And we edited it, right, to try to make it interesting. But you have that interview to where I can make sure that they are somebody that I'm proud to have speak to my customers, and can do so in a way, they can either do so in a way that I'm comfortable with, or I know I can teach them how to do that. And then I take them under the wing and show them all of the ways that we do everything. From there, nothing happens, right? They're in the system, they're getting trained, and nothing really happens until they really become a member of the team and buy in. And then all of a sudden they got 4 friends that want to work here too. And so then I interview all 4 of those friends. I may or may not hire any of them, right? It just kind of depends. And you start to build that staff with people that fit the culture of the business. And you don't hire people out of desperation, because then they definitely don't fit the culture of the business. And to where it's gotten to a point now where I've got one employee that I recruited personally, lives in my neighborhood, is a great freaking kid, and just everybody loves him. I literally think the entire rest of the staff all is acquainted one way or another, whether they're friends. We just brought on Trevor's older brother, but the whole staff basically all know each other, so you do have to be very cognizant of what it's like to manage people that are best friends. You can the best way I put it is you can't manage through each other, right? You can't go to this person to try and send a message to this person if it's a message that needs to get to that person from a professional level. Now, if I need Josh to work this weekend and I can ask Trevor to text Josh, that's not a big deal, right? That kind of communication is fine, but you can't have negative conversations through people. You have to have face-to-face. That's the way you hire friends and make it work. And it is difficult. However, the system just is never ending, right? The number of people that can come to me is just never ending, because everybody that talks to them all wants to work for the jump off.
Absolutely. And the other secret.
Oh, what happened? I think we just lost Chris and Lawrence. Hold on, let me check. Hold on. Yeah, they're gone. Checking one last time. Yeah, they're gone. Something happened with their internet connection. I have no idea what just went on. I'm sure they'll be right back here in just a second. I'm sure they're scrambling to get back in. All the questions for foam in the chat, I hope they jump back on so we can talk about that. I'm going to kind of stick on the team building thing, because that's my wheelhouse. Yeah, GM Maloney said amazing interview. Yeah, so the interview, oh, here they come. Hold on. Yeah, so the interview that I shot on YouTube was kind of an awkward thing, right? Like I had my phone like pointing at my face while I interviewed a kid. And he did not know that it was being taped, right? He's not on film. You can hear his voice and some of his answers. All of his answers are good. He was a great kid. But I did that because for a long time in my corporate life, my whole role was to try and hire people. Like that was the whole thing I did. I mean, I'd have between 300 to 500 employees that were under me at any given time. And my life was easy when I had lots of good people. My life was terrible when I had lots of bad people. Maybe that's a bad, poor way to word that. But so I honed my ability to hire and interview, and the interview for me was a strength where I could double, triple, quadruple down on, and that would help me hire good people. And so then I had to turn around and start teaching it. And when I started to try to teach my interview style, it was like impossible. Like you can't sit at a table one-on-one with somebody and teach them how to interview. The only way I could do it is bring my managers on interviews with me. And as I did, the interviewee would leave, and then we could have a conversation about interviewing, and all the context was there for everything I was teaching them how to do. And so as that question just kept coming to me, I was like, the only thing I can do is record an interview and put it on YouTube. So that way it's kind of like the best version that I could have of that sit in with an interview with me feeling. Okay, so if you go watch that video, you'll notice a lot of things, but you'll notice how loose I am. You'll notice like I interact like I'm actually probably looser than this, right? Because I'm hosting this. I've got kids down my hallway right here. I'm trying to watch this fucking chat that's going crazy. Like I'm trying to do a million things right now. In the interview, I'm one-on-one with the person, right? I'm one-on-one with the person, and it's just a conversation. I don't even have this pencil isn't even behind my ear, right? It's down on the desk. And I don't write anything. I don't look at anything. I don't read anything. I've done thousands of interviews. Okay. So that part is not something that you should probably emulate right off the bat. because I just know exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it, to keep the interview going, because I've done it so much. But the emphasis that I was trying to make in that video is the interview is always up here, right? So whenever you're team building, whenever you're having a conversation, it's not down here and it's not on a set of questions, it's right here. And so as you stay engaged with that person and just work to make the conversation move, right? Because they're nervous, they're trying to answer correctly, right? As you make it into a conversation, them trying to answer correctly turns into them answering honestly. And you'll start to get real candid responses. You'll start to get real stories. You'll start to get their actual personality will start to come out of them. And from that point, right, the interview doesn't even, like, you talk for 20 minutes in the interview that hasn't really started until they relax, and then they open up. And then is when I start to measure their personality and their personal values against mine and the jump off's core values, to see if they'll be somebody that can come on the team and do the right things because it's hard coded in them, versus me bringing on somebody and trying to, change their perspective or change their mindset. It's like, if you just get somebody that's nice and you get somebody that's friendly and you get somebody that's smart, you can have a much better professional relationship with them because they already have those things encoded, right? I like cleanliness. I like organization. So when I have the kid that shows up that is all organized and ready for the interview, it speaks volumes versus the kid that comes with messy hair and a dirty shirt, whatever, right? So I can take that personality and then take that conversation and evaluate them to see if I can hire them. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So it looks like Foam Daddy's not coming back on.
We're here. Can you hear us?
Oh, there we go. We're back.
Yeah,
Okay.
we lost you. So I was just saying, I have three things about hiring people that to add. First is, I think one of my biggest secret weapons is women. In this business, a lot of folks are thinking about doing deliveries and delivering, big bounce houses and things. But, for foam parties, half of my team is female, and they do, I think, in many cases, a better job than the guys, because I think women do a better job of relating to kids in a lot of cases. And I think it provides especially when we do bubble parties, I almost always try to send my female employees for those, because it's a little more interactive with the kids. And I think women tend to relate to kids better than guys in a lot of cases. Second thing is I learned a long time ago with my previous businesses that what people are compensated for is what they do. So if you have a specific goal that you need to accomplish with your company, if there's something that people are not doing or you want them to do, it's amazing how if you incentivize them financially to do X, Y, and Z behavior in order to receive a bonus or some reward, they will absolutely do X, Y, and Z because they want that reward. So I think that a lot of times you have to structure the way that you're compensating people and what goals you're trying to achieve with some sort of a carrot on the end of that stick. And generally speaking, if they're not compensated to do something, they'll focus on the stuff that they're compensated to do over the stuff they're not compensated to do. So I think you use that carrot and a stick as sort of a way of driving things the way you want. And I think the other thing is I absolutely believe in modeling good behavior for my team, good business practices, good ethical behavior, good just model the right way to do things. It's very hard if I'm doing an event and I have one of them with me, if I'm not upholding the same standards that I expect them to uphold, for them to then uphold those standards. So it's always modeling, the right behavior, the right way to do things. And I think that, your employees do watch that. If you are not pulling the same line that you're expecting them to pull, they're not going to do it. So you have to sort of talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yep, I'm very big on that, where, the jump off, I don't drop off or pick up a lot of units. The guys do that, and I do the best job I can to try and get them all the hours, right? And I try to make sure that is communicated in that way. But the second that there's a shift, a drop, a pickup that has no staff, like I'm the first one to jump on it. Like I'll text the guys like, hey, do you want this one? It's at a gym. Like we do the nicest a gym around here. We do all their events, and we had to pick up on Friday at 9. And so I text, the two managers. I said, do you guys want it? And they both said, we're busy. I said, no worries, I got it. And they replied back, they're like, well, if you got to get it, like I'm like, no, I got it, right? Like, no worries, I got it. Thomas ended up going to grab it because I text Thomas, one of our newer drivers, and he was like, yep, on it. So Thomas ended up go get it, but I'm the first one to be ready to jump in a truck, and I've got no apprehension to go do it because I still love it. All right, so I think we can open it up to some serious questions. If you guys have more questions, would love to. Somebody just posted the longest comment ever. 304. I'll read that in a second. But if you guys want to open up and ask any other questions, not that we're at the end of the show by any stretch of the imagination, right? Because the kids don't have school tomorrow. We just got to fly. So I'm not like in some huge rush because we got a big crowd here. We got lots of interaction. So I'm happy to keep the show going. But I would like to open it up to you guys' questions. So unmute, raise your hand, do your thing, and let's get some questions answered. And then I'm going to go scour the chats to see if I can find any good ones. I have a lot going on here, so hold on, bear with me. Yeah, what do you guys got? I know you guys got questions, so don't be shy. Don't be shy. Let's see, Chris Riley. Oh, so Chris was the one that asked about 4 cannons or 5 cannons. Yeah, 4 cannons. He asked, how many do I have? So I have just 1 right now. What I'm going to be doing, my plan was to have been done this. However, some other projects came up with the Christmas light business that we launched. Let's Get Lit Supply. So we're Christmas light suppliers now, and that kind of got in the way. But what I'm going to be doing next year, so I'll probably start this in February, I think. But I'm going to be building an entire brand just for foam, and it's going to be. I'm just, the jump off is too close to my heart. So I think we're just going to do jump off foam. I've kind of played around with some logos and stuff where it's just going to be the jump off logo with some foam around it. But we're going to start a whole, in Inflatable Office, which runs the rental business, the software that we use for the rental business, it's $50 to start a second site. So we're going to start a second site just for foam, and then it'll be kind of a clone of our site, but then we'll go in and change all the branding, all the pictures, all the keywords, everything, all the good stuff to just foam. And so next year for spring, we'll be ready to launch. And we can start doing parties here. Usually we'll start getting bookings in April, but May is crazy. So plan is to do that in February, get ready to launch hardcore. And then I'm a big fan of, I had a long conversation with people that were buying Christmas lights today that were nervous they weren't buying enough, and they were buying. I'm like, nah, I'm a big fan of buy as you go. Like, let's launch this thing, and then if it gets to the point where we have too much traction and not enough cannons, we'll just go buy more cannons. We'll make a whole section in the warehouse for them. But yeah, next year we're going to go very, very, very big and very hard on foam because I believe in it the most. I believe in it the most, and it's going to be great. Very excited.
There was a question in the chat about this. So for those of you that are already doing foam, we've been trying to come up with all kinds of tips and tricks and gadgets and stuff to help make foam better. So that is a motor controller is what it is. And so the thing is, pretty much anything that Foam Daddy introduces, for about 6 months before Foam Daddy introduces it, I give it to my crew and let them try to break it and destroy it and perfect it and all this kind of thing. So this is something that Foam Daddy only introduced a couple weeks ago, but I've been using these since last year, trying to break these. So this is a motor controller, and the reason why this is helpful is when you do foam, the cannon has 2 inputs. You've got a pump that's pumping fluid into the cannon, and then there's an airflow. And the 2 ways that you can change the quantity and quality of your output is either by adjusting the amount of fluid that's going in or by the amount of air that's going through. In other words, a lot of fluid with less air is going to give you a thicker output, and a lot of fluid and a lot of air is going to give you an output that throws further but tends to be maybe a little bit chunkier because you're blasting a lot more air into the fluid. So one of the ways that you can reduce the throw of your cannon, because remember, a lot of times you're going to be in a backyard that maybe isn't huge, especially here in Phoenix. We all live in a backyard that looks like a prison. We all have these cement block walls around our backyards. You'll be at a daycare, and especially like most daycares, they don't want to take the kids out in the parking lot to do a foam party. They want you to set up next to the playground equipment on the little grass patch where the kids ride their tricycles or kick a ball around. So in a lot of cases, you're filling an area that you want to not have that cannon throw 30 feet. You want to have it throw 10 feet. So the way you do that is by reducing the airflow into the cannon. Now, the way we've traditionally done that is by blocking some of the airflow in the back of the cannon with a baffle or folded towel. But we've come up with a way to do it, which is amazing. So this is $35. It's on the Foam Daddy site. And basically it's a rheostat, it's a dimmer switch to put it in simple terms. And this allows you to turn down the fan speed on your blower, on your cannon, so that you're not going to throw as much, and it will thicken your output while using less foam fluid. So it reduces your operating costs while still producing even better foam. And in most cases, for like a typical birthday, we've been running this at about 70%. So rather than the fan being just blasting at 100, about 70, we use less fluid. The output is thicker, and this is a really great accessory to have. I swear by this at this point. Now, I'll point out, this is where testing comes in. So we bought last year, we meaning Foam Daddy, bought every single one of these we could find anywhere on the internet. We bought every single one on Amazon. We went to Granger and Zorro and every supplier you can imagine where you would buy something like this. And we bought like 24 different kinds. And I had 5 or 6 of them blow up at parties. Smoke came out of them. They stopped working. They got hot, all that kind of thing. And we finally landed on one that we knew would work. And that's this one that we now have bought in huge quantities. There's like 50 of them on the shelf over here in the warehouse. Point is you can go on Amazon for $35 and buy this, or for the same $35, go to the Foam Daddy site. We make no profit on this. I think this is literally, we sell this at cost. But if you buy this on the Foam Daddy site, it's the one we've tested that looks sort of the same as all the 14 of them on Amazon, but 10 of the 14 Amazon will probably end up having smoke come out of them. They're not all the same. So I just want to caution you, go, oh, I need to buy that from Foam Daddy. I'll just click on Amazon and get it. Yeah, maybe you can, maybe you won't, but for the same exact dollar for dollar price, get the one we've tested. That's the one on the Foam Daddy site, because I don't want you to have a party and have smoke. I mean, the one had smoke. It was very exciting, actually, especially as somebody that teaches fire safety for one of my other businesses. Very exciting, but not exactly something I want to have happen again at a party.
What is so if you run at 70%, is that the same as the baffle, putting at the baffle that comes with the cannon?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it's it's your own personal preference. I mean, we like this better. It's a little cleaner than having the baffle on the back. Some people prefer to put it back. So the baffle, I want to run over here and grab one real quick, just so you guys can see it. Bear with me for a second here.
Yeah, the baffle, like, so we did our first foam party. We were shooting, and it was big, and it was shooting far. It was great, and I was like, man, what's the deal? Like, I'm okay. Let me experiment. And I threw that baffle up, and then it doesn't shoot as far, but then all of a sudden it's just coming out thick. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the way.
That's a baffle. So this goes on with air pressure, with suction, basically on the back of your cannon to reduce your airflow. Or you can use a folded towel on the back of your cannon, or you can use that rheostat. The rheostat's just a little bit cleaner. But that's one of the nice things about the Foam Daddy cannon, is that fan in that cannon is powerful enough that if you've got a big event at a mall or something, and you've got to fill a big space and really need some big foam output, you can shoot 30 feet over people's heads and really stack foam. But then you can, with that same cannon, an hour later, go to a birthday party in a small backyard, and using just this or this, scope that cannon down for a group of 12 5-year-olds. And you're not, it's one piece of equipment. It's great. It's just a very versatile way to do things.
Yeah, because we were in a backyard, and then that's when I put it on, and then immediately I was like, oh yeah, that's the move. Like that's way better because just the space that we were in, it was a perfect way to shoot the phone. All right, what other questions you guys got?
I have some questions.
Let's go. Come on, somebody on Zoom. Let's go.
Hey, it's Jay. So I actually made a list of questions. I'm taking notes because I think we probably might have gone over a couple of these. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna actually write these down. How soon do I get it after I order?
It depends on how far away you are. but
Where do you live?
Yeah.
It'll ship tomorrow.
Northwest Indiana.
Okay, if you place an order tomorrow, it'll ship tomorrow. UPS to your part of the country is, I think, 4 days. Or if you're in a big hurry, we are 3 miles from the airport. And for a tiny amount of additional money, how much more is it, Paul, to ship a Southwest? Like
$50 extra.
so for $50 extra, we can put it on a Southwest flight in the morning. You can pick it up at your airport at the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
And by the way, that's a really cool like sort of secret weapon that Foam Daddy has, is we ship a lot of people, because a lot of people wait till the last minute to order stuff. You have no idea how many people would call like today and be like, oh, I have an event on Saturday. I need, right? Hi, Kirk. How you doing, man? Yeah. Thinking of you, buddy. You know, I have an event on Saturday. So that's a little bit of a secret weapon we have, because we're positioned right in a major city next to the airport. And that is a really cool thing. So yeah, we can have it to you in a couple of days, no problem, or same day if it's an emergency.
Okay. Awesome. And then I'm sorry, tell me again how much it is for one.
26.5 right now for the stacker.
26.
2650.
Okay.
26.50. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Once I get it, is there training videos? I mean, just the whole like going into it, you know, blindly,
Yeah.
like just the whole. Okay.
No. You're not going blindly. So Facebook group, there's your first resource. 21
Okay.
training videos. I put a link in the chat. I'll send it again. But there's 21 training videos that go through it. You also have the 3 of us and the rest of the team. So we've got a 1-800 number set up. I regularly
Okay.
will jump on a 30-minute Zoom call where we get on a call and I just answer whatever questions you've got. I usually have a Canon set up off camera so we can go and kind of show you different things. So lots and lots of support. No, we're not just going to throw you in.
Okay. And how much did you say it is roughly to rent out? Like normally people rent these out for an hour for about, how much was it? $400?
Yeah, correct. In your part of the country, I mean, I've got people in, I know where you live quite well because I was actually born not far from there. And I have family from there, so I know your area very well. So we have a couple of people that are in the Annapolis area, Fort Wayne, Terre Haute, that are in the mid 3s to mid 4s for an hour. So 350 to 450 an hour for sort of a typical like a birthday or something like that. And keep in mind, there's also upsell potential. You upsell for glow foam. Often that's a 50% surcharge. You can upsell for colored foam, either for a colored foam party for the kids or for a gender reveal. And that's typically an upcharge of about 50%, you know, $100 to $200 more an hour as well. So, and in those cases, you know, you don't really have much additional cost. You've got the stuff you put in to make it colored or glow, but that's really not a whole lot of cost. So your margin goes up substantially on those types of events, and they look amazing. Like right now, with pink foam, you have no idea how many people in our group are doing Barbie parties. Oh my gosh, that's been like the biggest rage, like the last month is Barbie parties. Like we have people in the group that have done dozens of them, and they literally every Saturday they're doing 3 or 4 of them. It's really cool. I don't think in
That's
a month or two
awesome.
we'll be doing many, but you know, you strike while the iron is hot, right?
Yeah. Okay. I think those are pretty much all my questions. Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. You guys got other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. No questions. I'm trying to go through the Zoom chat.
I have a question.
Nick, can I talk about snow machines for a minute?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd actually would like to hear about those. I was at IAPA and they were throwing snow on everybody. I'm like, what the fuck are these? And then Justin Kenyon was like, oh no, we're buying 2 more. Like they're big business. Like we crush it with these. So yes, please.
So I'm one of these people that I have all these different hats I wear, and a lot of people that know me in one life don't know that I have all these other lives where it's sort of weird. So I'll tell you just a quick story about snow. So as I told you at the beginning, I'm a magician, and I know we have a few magicians that are on here. And back in 2002, we had the opportunity in Los Angeles. There's a mall in Los Angeles called The Grove, which is this huge, beautiful, very upscale outdoor mall that's next to the LA Farmers Market. I mean, they have a Bentley sitting there on display in the parking garage from the local car dealership. You know, you might have a Ford or something in your local mall. They have a Bentley Bentayga sitting there on display in the parking garage when you go see the valet. So that's the mall when LA had riots a couple of years ago. That's the mall where you saw people looting, you know, like Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. So it's really fancy mall. So 2002, that mall was opening. And the guy who's the developer who built that property is named Rick Caruso. And he is the guy that just spent $100 million trying to get the LA mayor's race, and he lost. And he's this billionaire developer out on the West Coast. And somehow we managed to get a meeting with him in the meeting, which I look back on that now 22 or 23 years later, whatever it is. And I think to myself, like, I was this meeting with this billionaire developer, right? And we were pitching for the grand opening season of that mall, a holiday magic show, an illusion show with big tricks where you saw people in half and things in the middle of this outdoor mall on their great lawn. And one of the tricks we were pitching as the end of the show, since it was a holiday show, is a trick the magicians call the snowstorm in China. And this is a trick where a magician takes some paper and fans it, and it was going to snow at the end of the magic show. And he stopped us and he said, you know, I don't really know about this magic show thing, but could you make it snow at my mall? Could you make it snow outdoors? And this is like a street with like a trolley that goes up and down, and it's really amazing. And we were like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. And at that point, nobody, not Disney, not Universal, nobody had ever done large scale outdoor snow at a shopping center or any type of a place like that. So we figured it out. And 2003, we added malls in Phoenix, Richmond, Virginia, and Miami. And then at this point, you know, over the last 20 years, that business has grown. It's now called Magic Snow is the name of the company. And if you've seen snow on TV on whether it's Al Roker on the Today Show or Mario Lopez, you know, doing snow on Dancing with the Stars, I mean, that's all stuff that we've done. So we've gotten really good at understanding snow. The thing about snow is unlike foam, where you go and do foam and you set up the machine and you do it, snow is a business where it's not just about owning a snow machine. It's about understanding when you go to a venue how to make snow using that machine look natural and look real and look like it's actually snowing. You know, that's really the key, is the training and the understanding of that implementation and of the installation to do it. So I was then friends with Paul for a number of years. So Foam Daddy has sort of handed off to me the sales for this season of all of the snow machines. But if you're interested in a snow machine, look in the Foam Daddy official user group on Facebook. There's a bunch of posts. But here's the interesting thing about snow machines. The machine that I own a bunch of and I use for all my installations at malls and places like that is a really cool machine, because it's basically a box with a hose that comes out of it that you can then put that hose up a piece of truss. You can put it up on a light pole in a parking lot. You can run up a tree so that you're not having to worry about coming into a place and do a lot of rigging. And we're still on, right? Yeah. Okay.
No, I was working on it.
So he's going to grab a picture of it for you to show what it looks like. So we, however, have a limited window every year to buy those machines. We imported 390 of those machines a couple of weeks ago, and as of yesterday, I only have a couple of dozen left. And I say that isn't just me for my sales. That is actually for the manufacturer in the United States for the rest of the season. So if you are interested in learning about snow and getting a snow machine to add to your inventory this season, if you play that video, that right there, that picture, that's actually in front of the arena where the Phoenix Suns play. This is one of my malls. And to give you an idea of some of the possibilities, this particular mall I make it snow on Friday and Saturday nights between Thanksgiving and Christmas for 12 minutes each of those nights. And that mall is an $18,500 job, just to give you an idea. So there's money to be made if you do this right. But if you're interested in learning more about snow machines, go in the Foam Daddy official user group. You'll see a bunch of posts about it there. And if you want to look at the machines, go to my website, which is bubblemaniacsstore.com. We'll put a link in there. It's basically $2,000. Bubblemaniacsstore.com. Just add the word store after that. So you go to my shop site. And that is where the machines are listed. They're in stock. They're shipping this week and next. And then if you get a snow machine, I'm not just going to sell you a snow machine. That's not the way I roll. I'm setting up a private Facebook group for everybody that gets one, and I'm going to teach you snow A to Z. Just like I've brought thousands of people along on the foam journey and helped you make money. This is the same thing I'm going to do with snow. I'm going to teach people how to do it. I have marketing materials, pictures, videos, all that stuff to get you started so that you can go out and do some events. And, you know, you may not want to do, huge events at malls or something like that, but boy, if you're doing a holiday event and you rent and bounce houses already, the idea that they can snow out in the middle of that field at the school or in some parking lot for a company picnic or whatever, on the way into somebody's nice Christmas party at a nice resort or a nice hotel. This is a really nice upsell for the holidays, and I'll make it easy for you. So
I would love to jump in, Chris, because
go ahead, Justin.
I got one last year, $2,000. Even though I help out Foam Daddy, I don't get that discount price either. Didn't really need it at all. Made my money back and then some last year. It was a really interesting experience. And then we actually brought this machine to the Transworld convention, which is a Halloween and a Christmas convention. And we actually, I was talking to a lot of people, you can turn down this machine to like a very low output and it looks like ash falling. So you can actually use the same machine and I already have it rented out for a couple haunted houses for 2 weeks straight. And then they use less solution because it's like very low output for a long period of time. Paul was there too with us. A lot of the Halloween guys like that. Now you have that machine that you're just using for Christmas, makes its money for Christmas, like hands down. But then like you actually can use it during the Halloween season for a light fog effect that isn't really smoky. It doesn't really mess with people, but like it literally looks like ash, like fallout coming from the sky. Just like debris.
We got it. So wait, I have to ask this question. Justin, you live in Buffalo where it snows.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
it never snows when you want it to snow. That's why I tell people. I always tell people about the snow machine. I sell it to their Christmas party. That's how I sell it to them. And they're like, oh, it snows here all the time. I don't care about snow. I'm like, yeah, but I can guarantee it's going to snow for your party while your guests enter. Like, it never snows when you want it to snow. That's the best way. That's how I sell it, and it seems to work for me.
Yeah, because I was thinking it was just going to be the Sun Belt that it would make sense in, but that's interesting.
Oh, we're actually
make it snow in New York City and the Time Warner Center
for the Miami game.
And we make it snow in the Eaton Center in Toronto every holiday season, and those are two places where it snows a lot, and people still love to see it snow. I booked today a $6,500 job for the holiday season for one snow machine. It's this huge plastic dome they're installing at a mall, and they're going to have a food and drink experience in it. And for $6,500, it's one machine, so it's a $2,000 machine, and it'll be about $200 or $300 worth of fluid. I'm setting that up. I go by once a week to refill the machine, and every hour for 2 minutes, they're going to press the button at the end of this food and drink experience and make it snow in the dome, and then the people go out and the next group comes in. So that was $4,000 in profit. I'll have to stop by there a few times, but I'm going there anyway. It's not far away. But that's basically $4,000 in profit off just one machine in one transaction.
That's incredible. So how do you get the clients?
Big mouth.
So this time of year, so we've been in the Foam Daddy group, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, you may have seen. So I've got quite a few folks that have bought machines. I sold about 50 machines in the last 3 weeks, which is pretty amazing. And those are shipping now, but I have a lot of people. I've given out a lot of videos and pictures in the last couple of weeks. And so what's happening is they've been doing Facebook posts saying, hey, you want to make it snow at your holiday event. You want to make it snow at your Christmas party. You want to make it snow, as the kids are coming out of school the day before Christmas break for your PTA, PTO. And it's amazing how again, this is a discovery thing. It never occurs to people like, wow, I could make it snow as people are coming to my holiday party or my event. You put it out there on social media and your phone will ring. It absolutely will. Because people just, they see it and it's the coolest thing ever. I see Salvador raising his hand. I know a couple Salvadors. I don't know if it's Salvador in Palm Springs or not. I'm not sure which Salvador, but I see him raising his hand. Maybe you have some comment about this. If you're the Salvador, I think you are.
It is. How you doing, Chris? So quick question. First of all, the machine that looks like a blower, is that just a higher output machine?
So so when you look on the website there, the machine that was round, looked like a blower, that is a machine that's going to require a little more effort with rigging. So the machine with the tube, that tube that comes out of the right side of the machine you see in the picture, that tube is 10 meters long. I can add an extension hose to that to make it 20 meters long. So I can leave that box on the ground with 5 gallons of fluid in it. The jug is in that ATA case, and then close that, run the tube out that little door on the side, and then I can run that tube up a piece of truss, up the side of a building, up a tree, up a light pole in a parking lot, anything like that. So my installation is fairly easy because the only thing I'm putting up in the sky is that head on the end. So I have minimal weight, minimal stuff that's up in the sky, if that makes sense. Typically at most events, like that picture you saw, the Phoenix Suns there, that's a 30,000 square foot plaza. I had 4 of these machines, and each of those machines, the tube was going up a 16-foot stick of truss, and I had nice wind that day. I covered a 30,000 square foot plaza with 4 of those machines. And just to give you an idea, again, some of the pricing, that was 2 hours one night, 2 hours another night, and that was $10,000. So the other machine you see there, the round one, that is better when you can install it up on a rooftop. It has very good output and very good throw. But the challenge with that is that so the thing that makes snow look real and magical is you want fake snow to look as real as possible, right? And so real snow looks the way it does because it is falling from the sky and it's completely filling space around you. So the problem with this machine, and it's not really a problem, it's a good machine, but you have to install it the right way. That machine is better either on a rooftop or up high in the air. You can put that on the ground and have it blow up, sort of like if you go to a ski resort. And by the way, folks, this is not real snow. It doesn't have to be freezing. This is little bits of foam that looks like snow. The problem with that is if you put that on the ground and you're blowing it up, right? So it's blowing up and then it falls down. All the kids want to go stand in front of that stupid machine and touch it and put their hands in it because you can't really hide it because it's going up and then it's coming down. So if you've got a rooftop, that machine is great, or if you can put it up really high, like on a truss tower or something. But generally speaking, for the kind of events that most of us in the events business are doing, where you want to get in and get out in an hour or two, you roll up, you set it up, you do your thing, you pack it up, you go home. The machine, the S500 with the tube, is going to be a more versatile and easier to use machine just because of its form factor, if that makes sense.
I also want to just point out as well, that road box is worth like $400 itself easily. Like the road case that it's that comes in, and the transportability, and when you store those things in your warehouse, you're going to be happy that it comes in a road box like that. I've actually talked to multiple people in the stagehand union. So we just had our local 10 party, and I'm having them build road boxes for lots of stuff in my warehouse because who would know better than people in the stagehand union. So that just having things in a road box, the case itself has got value.
Just to give you an idea of consumption and hourly cost to operate snow. Nick, I think you're controlling it, or is it Lawrence? Press play on that video for a minute there. That's the same place. That's out in the plaza outside where people are coming to see the basketball game. Looks pretty amazing, doesn't it? It's pretty awesome. So that is a light snowfall. And we did that for 2 hours before each game. you know, in a situation like that, remember, it's not a foam party. It's a light snowfall that gives an effect when people are coming in. So in that kind of a situation with that kind of output, the 5-gallon jug in that machine, I only used about half of a 5-gallon jug. So that means for each of those machines for 2 hours, I used roughly $40 worth of product. Now, if I'm at an event where, let's say it's a tree lighting and there's all these people standing around and they're going to be there for 10 or 15 minutes and Santa pushes the button, the tree lights, and they want a big snowfall right there on the spot, I'm going to crank those machines up to have a more robust output. I'm going to use more product, but I'm going to do it for a shorter time. So in a situation like that, like I said, I spent maybe $40 for 2 hours in that video. I might spend $20 in that more robust situation for 15 minutes, just because I'm looking for a more of a blizzard type output rather than just a gentle sort of effect of a snowfall effect, if that makes sense to you guys.
And then, Chris, let me just add. I know that you, when you know it was me, I can share a little bit more about my experience last year. So, I ordered a machine, different brand, later in the winter season, just because the Antari was completely sold out everywhere. So, you're on the fence, get it now, as Chris has mentioned before, because you don't want to be left thinking that you can get one and then everyone's sold out. So just if you're on the fence, just get it now and don't worry about that later on.
Yeah, there will
So
literally
anyways,
be in a couple of weeks no machines left anywhere in the country. Now there'll be some crappy machines, but if you want to get one of the good machines that's, you know, and I really am a believer, and I'm Nick, you know, I've never talked about this, but I know you agree with this. I'm a believer in it's like the what I call the cheap shoes example. You know, you go out and you buy a cheap pair of shoes and your feet aren't as comfortable and they fall apart, and then you go and buy another pair of shoes, and you should have just bought a good quality pair of shoes in the first place and spent $50 more, and they last longer and your feet are comfortable. And I feel that way about equipment in my business as well. You know, you spend the money up front to buy good quality stuff that is right for the job, and ultimately it saves you money, it saves you labor, it saves you headache, it saves you hassle. You do a better job and you get more money. So, you know, yeah, you'll be able to find closer to Christmas all kinds of Chinese snow machines that are cheaper, but you know, I've owned every snow machine on the market. You want to start with a good machine because it's just going to give you a lot better output and a lot better results.
exactly. And
Don't buy that little rinky dink snowman with like that snow woman that shoots like 5 feet.
I know.
It literally does shoot 5 feet. You're right, Justin.
And so again, so in the month, I think that I had it left for the winter season, I must have booked about 15 events, anywhere from a school to daycares to just backyard parties where people, you know, thought it was a cool idea. So I marketed the hell out of it on my own social media, and people booked me. The one thing that I did notice is that it looks way better at night than in the day. In the daytime, it just depends on how much daylight there is. So it kind of messes with the effect unless you have a really thick output. But then the second part of that is I use different solutions or fluids, and by far the one that Chris makes is you know, second to none. So you know, plug for him, but I mean, it really was the best solution out there.
Thank you. That formula, you know, so about 2006, we were buying more snow fluid than anybody in the United States, and I was in the dental business at that point. And I happened to buy a lot of stuff for the dental industry from this chemical company. And the chemist was this crazy, like, genius guy. And I said to him, I said, could you make some snow fluid for me? And we went through about 3 seasons sort of perfecting that fluid. And you know, we do more snow than anybody in the world, so we have more opportunity to sort of test stuff than anybody. And like today, I had 2 pallets. I guess I was gone today. Somehow they delivered 2 pallets of it to my driveway, which I don't know how it ended up in my driveway, but we go through multiple semi-truck loads of that a year. And yeah, thank you, Salvador, because we take a lot of pride in the fluid is just amazing. There's just snow fluid is a lot more complicated than foam fluid. There's a lot more ingredients in it because you have to get the evaporation right. You have to have it not smell too chemically. You don't want it to leave any residue. So there's a lot more complexity to a snow fluid formula to get it perfected. And And we're very proud of that. We've really worked hard to make it a good formula, and it has great results. Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. I want to get my wife into some of this part of the business. So she owns a hair salon. She actually just grand opened a new hair salon. So she's very busy, right? But as a hairstylist, like she basically is trading time for money, right? Like she's got to cut the hair to get the money. Now she's got chairs to rent out and all that. So there'll be some residual a little bit, but I've always tried to look for something to get her into, and she wants to do it too. So at IAPA, she's coming to me with Jelly Ball and all this other crap that she can do. But this is one I'm gonna send her. So we'll see her tomorrow in California. So I'm gonna show her. I'll show her your site and see if it's something that she'll want to get into, because that's
Dude,
just
look at the Christmas lighting business you have. Snow is like a no-brainer slam dunk for you.
oh yeah, because that's where we're at now, is where we're doing corporate stuff. And so corporate, and then if I can land, the city that I went and did the bid for today, which the ladies loved me, so I'm hoping that we land it, but it's out in the open, and they do a farmer's market on the weekends, and so a lot of good stuff can come. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to talk to Michelle about that tomorrow and see if it's something that she's interested in helping with, because I'd like to get her cutting hair less, at home with the kids more. So all right, so Chris, tell everybody some of the other stuff you get into, because I know you have 8, 9, something like that businesses.
So probably the most unique business we have is Fantastic Fire Department. And I started a business in 2009, and I'm a magician, and I have been forever. And I always was looking for other things that I could do for kids' birthdays that sort of took my entertainment mojo, but it didn't have to be me, right? So I had this crazy idea in 2009 that I should buy a fire truck. And, this would be like if I said to you, a similar example, let's go out and buy a bulldozer right now, or an airplane, or a helicopter. It's a level of sort of craziness that, that is like how much does a fire truck cost? Where do you buy one? Where do you get one? So I somehow bought a fire truck back in 2009 and came up with this amazing brand, Fantastic Fire Department. We've done about 12,000 fire truck parties since then. I own multiple trucks now, and then we also now are in multiple cities. We've been very successful with franchising with people in the party business. We're currently in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are in San Antonio and Nashville, and this week we agreed in principle to New Orleans. So you're going to be seeing fire trucks in New Orleans, Nick. That isn't Nick though, guys. It's Nick's competitor, main competitor. And we have this weekend, I have Houston, Dallas, and Philadelphia coming to visit me for the weekend as well. So everything goes well, we're going to be in 10 cities with that concept. And if you want to check it out, fantasticfiredepartment.com. There is nothing more amazing in our culture than the lore around firefighters and fire trucks. And we take that same mojo and we put it into the fire truck, business. It's every kid has that phase when they're 3 or 4 years old where fire trucks are the thing, and it's just the funnest, most amazing thing to roll around town and own your own fire trucks. So that's been just an awesome business, and if you're interested, guys, talk to me. I can get you started. We're getting pretty good at this at this point, with this many cities in motion, to really help people launch right out of the gate. And it's not easy to buy a fire truck. I guide you on the whole process of exactly what to look for and where to get one, and I help you survey it, and just the whole thing. It's just really amazing. So there's that. Obviously, there's Bubble Maniacs, our bubble and foam party business. So another of my brands is called Mini Golf on the Go. And right before the pandemic, I was at IAPA, and we do a huge amount of business with shopping centers. I have a great relationship with about 25 shopping centers across the Western United States. And we do everything from Christmas decorations to Easter bunnies to pop-up events and activations for them. And so I'm always looking for stuff for my malls. So 2019, I was at IAPA, and I came across Milco Manufacturing, Dan Miller in Michigan. He's a great guy. And I came across this portable miniature golf course. And I thought, well, this would be a really good idea for one of my malls. for like an event for one of my outdoor malls. So we bought the course and I branded it and set it up as one of my additional brands. And miniature golf has proven to be just crazy, unexpected, successful for us. We do on average 2 or 3 events a week for miniature golf. During the summer, it's booked 7 days a week because when we sell to daycares and summer camps, that typical daycare and summer camp books a magic show, a foam party, a fire truck water day, miniature golf. And so in one phone call, I booked that entire daycare or summer camps thing, and they love miniature golf. Miniature golf, we do a huge number of corporate events at all the different resorts around town. Because if you're, Xerox and you're having your sales meeting here and you want something for the guys to do during the cocktail party as people get to know each other, it's really cool to have miniature golf set up on the lawn over at the JW Marriott. So we do a lot with miniature golf. And for those of you that don't have mini golf, I got to tell you, I cannot recommend enough considering mini golf as an addition to your business. But again, brand it separately. Don't bury it in a bounce house business. It's successful because it's sexy and we're the experts in that concept. That's the thing. So I don't know what else to do. We have a sleepover business we're launching called Desert Dreams that one of my nieces is going to operate for us. But again, it's going to have all of my marketing mojo to go with the other brands. I still do about 150 magic shows a year just for fun. That's the only business that can be only me. So that's pretty fun to do. We have a balloon decor business. And then I have another business that's sort of completely unrelated. I'm the largest manufacturer of tables and trunks for magicians all over the world. So if you've seen a magician at a birthday party, a library, a school assembly, and they rolled in with some sort of a trunk or a table and did their show on it, we built that in all likelihood. And I have a bunch of other stuff cooking too. It's never enough.
That's awesome. Yeah, I understand the addiction where I feel like you start one that works well and you're good at it. You're like, I can just replicate this. And then as the team grows, right, you're able to replicate. So I'm only up to 4. So
and all my people are cross-trained. My fire truck driver can go to a foam party. My foam party guys can go do a miniature golf. Everything is, all my people are cross-trained. Some of my team, they change their shirt to a different brand 3 or 4 times a day in the busy season. They'll go from a foam party to a golf event to a bubble party to help on the fire truck, and everybody's cross-trained to do everything. And it also means that I've always got stuff going on. I mean, there's never a day when at least 2 or 3 of the cylinders of the engine are not firing. And in most cases, pretty much all of them are firing most days.
how many employees do you have total?
8 full-time people.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's we're really efficient. We're really good at doing what we do,
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I've started new businesses a lot recently, and as I have the infrastructure that you're just able to do it, and it just kind of starts to make sense, and it's like addicting. I love it.
Now I have a bunch of part-time people and 1099ers and stuff like that. I mean, there's days on a busy day when we'll have 25 people working. It's a little, I don't manage that. My husband Caesar is the operations guy and he manages all of that. And it's that's one of the other things, as we've grown, is I cannot do everything. You need to learn to trust people. You need to learn to delegate. And, speaking of just myself and Foam Daddy, Foam Daddy has grown a whole lot over the last 3 years as well. And we just keep exploding as a company. And it's a never ending process as you grow of learning and expanding your brain as part of a growing business. The main thing is you learn to trust people, you learn to delegate. And that's the point where I have a full-time person that answers the phone and she's amazing and she does a great job and she sells far better than I ever did, actually. And I never thought I could give that up. And you know what? I gave it up and I was so happy I gave it up and we grew again. And, I don't worry about staffing or the logistics of things. I focus on landing larger events and larger accounts. And I worry about stuff like making sure the taxes get done right and all that kind of thing. And I don't worry about who's staffing which foam parties on Saturday. And as you grow, you've just got to be able to trust people. you've got to be able to let go of some of the stuff, because you cannot grow if you expect to do it yourself. You have two hands, two legs, two ears, and one brain. And even if you work 24 hours a day, it's still never enough if you're growing. You've got to trust people and delegate.
Yeah, I believe in it firmly. But as an entrepreneur, like, as a corporate employee back in the day, like I had no choice, right? I was given, 25 stores, and you have to do all of that. But then as you leave, as I leave and start my own business, it changed, like, because it now was mine. And so it took a little bit of time before I was ready to give it up. And then as soon, and almost always, as soon as I did, you grow faster, because now you have a person dedicated to that task. And then I can go work on launching something new. I can go work on building something better. I can go, as soon as you let it go, you can grow faster. And it's a very powerful thing that is hard to do and hard to explain. But as soon as you do it, everything will just pop.
Like my next hire is going to be a marketing person. And I've held on to that because that's the hardest one for me to let go. But as we've grown and we have all these brands and the business is growing, I just don't have the time to focus on that part of things. And I literally need a person that will handle my social media, will work on graphic design and all those sorts of things. And I know that as soon as I make the effort to hire that person, because a lot of times the reason as an entrepreneur, I think you don't want to give something up, is it's a lot of effort to hire somebody and then teach them all the stuff you're doing. And you just don't have the time and energy to go through that process. So what do? You continue to struggle along, like in limp mode, doing the best you can. And you figure, well, okay, the business is good. We made so much money this week or this month. And you sort of paste over the problem, when the reality is I need to focus. I need to hire somebody. I need to make the effort to sit down and teach them, and then let them spread their wings. And I know that whatever I pay them, I'll make 10 times that money back. But as an entrepreneur, you have these things. And it's funny, you sometimes see these memes like on Facebook that entrepreneurs post, or it's like, you're laying in bed at night and the wife is next to the guy and she's like, is he thinking about other women? And in reality, like the thought bubble over his head is did I remember to send an email? And did I boost that Facebook ad? And did I remember to pay this thing? And did I call that customer back? And I think that I would love sometime to actually have a talk on one of these groups about just sort of the mental things that we all go through as entrepreneurs. I think a lot of us never really talk about it, but we have a lot of things that are common in our daily lives, the things that stress us out, the things we worry about, the things that happen to us, that sometimes, it just makes you feel better and more normal to be able to talk about it with other people that are doing the same thing you are. It makes you realize, you're not alone. And sort of the struggles you go through, or the highs and lows you have, or the challenges you face, are the same things other people are facing. And there's nothing wrong with you because you're stressed out about that. It's just everybody else is too.
Yeah. I was on a reality TV show for entrepreneurs, which my season still hasn't aired, but it might soon. But it was a workshop that was filmed and gamified. And so you're there and you're essentially competing against everybody, but everybody that was there was an entrepreneur. And there was some highly successful people, and there were some people that hadn't launched yet. And so you could just go put your plate of food down for lunch at a random table with somebody you've never met. And within, 20 seconds, you're in a conversation about entrepreneurship and just bouncing things off each other, or whatever. And everybody I've talked to that was on my season after, which I've talked to quite a few of them. I've had 3 of them on my podcast, but everybody says that the camaraderie that was built at the show, because you're around, right? Because I'm not around entrepreneurs ever. Like, it's my wife is one and I'm one, but all of our friends and all of our acquaintances, are employees. And so there's nowhere to go have the conversation that we're having right now. And so at the show, it was so powerful to just be around entrepreneurs that you could just talk about things, whether you had a question, you could ask somebody and they had franchise knowledge, or they had, some piece of knowledge that you needed, or you had the knowledge that they needed and you could give advice. It was just incredibly freeing to be around entrepreneurs, because we're such a strange breed of human being in today's society. And so as I was there, I was talking about this show, right? And at the time, the show was rather small when I was there, but the power of being able to come on a Zoom like this, or maybe you watch this on YouTube, maybe you listen to it on my podcast, whatever, but you hear all the conversations that we have that are weird conversations for normal society. It's just so powerful, and it's just a community that is so strong. And I just, one of those things I just love to do and love to be a part of.
And Nick, I realize that folks watching come from different places in the country and are different stages sort of in their journey. I just cannot encourage everybody watching enough to go in person to IAPA, come to Foam Universe, come to get on an airplane, guys, and come and meet people and make friends. And you know what? Go to IAPA and go to Carlos and Charlie's till 2 a.m. and sit there. Is it Carlos? Or is it not Carlos and Charlie's? It's the other one. You know what I mean? The one on iDrive where Justin, please, we're going to be watching it this year, so you don't get any fights outside in the parking lot at 2 a.m. But go Senior Frogs. That's what it is. Same company. So go to Senior Frogs and sit there till 1 or 2 a.m. and talk and meet people and have these conversations, because it's just so important to your growth. I feel with all the effort I've made with networking, like if I have a question about something, somewhere in my phone or on my Facebook friends list is somebody who's the right person to call, who can, in 5 minutes, like you, Nick, for example, the Christmas lighting. I knew last year I went into that business, I came and I took your workshop, and I know you're the guy who's the go-to person that if I have a question or something, like, you can answer it. And there's value in that relationship that has helped me grow my business. And I made the effort to make that relationship and seek the knowledge. And I think you've got to do that. You've got to come to these trade shows. You've got to, get to know people and be friends. And even on a local level, make friends, have a barbecue in your backyard and invite all the other local inflatable people over for barbecue some Sunday night, and pass out some beers and get to know each other. I mean, it has value. It is huge, huge value. Paul and I, we are sort of we mentally check each other. There's days we text back and forth 3, 4, 5 times a day. And he's like, what do you think about this idea? And I'll be like, that's a great idea, or that idea is really stupid. And we're like that. Like, that's a terrible idea. That's a great idea. Or what do you think I should do about this? And we go to dinner. I mean, our record for dinner is 5.5 hours at dinner. And you need that for your growth and for your dreaming and expanding your thing. So I just cannot encourage you guys enough. If you've never been to IAPA, that's coming up in a few months. You must come to IAPA, and not just the networking, but you walk in the floor of that hall and you see what billion-dollar and multi-billion-dollar companies do that are in our business. I don't mean bounce house companies. I mean Six Flags. I mean Cedar Fair. I mean Disney. I mean Universal. I mean all these sorts of things. And you walk around and you really appreciate that there is just such opportunity for learning and growth in that kind of environment, that ultimately you leave there and you're charged up and you're going to make your business better, because you're seeing the best practices on the planet for how you should do things and how you could, aspire to be.
Yeah. I mean, I met people at IAPA that, I didn't know, that I now have personal relationships with and have FaceTime conversations with, phone conversations with, and people call me for questions, people call me for advice, but then I get myself into a situation that I'm not familiar with. I can call that same person and be like, all right, let me bounce this off of you. What do you think? What are your ideas? Right. And all those relationships were formed at IAPA, where everybody that's there is in the same euphoria and they're in the same industry. And then you introduce a little bit of alcohol at Senior Frogs. We were at Senior Frogs until like 2:30 in the morning one night. And I didn't know because there was just some dude. I wish I remembered who it was, but was just buying buckets of beers, and buckets of beers just kept landing at the table, and I kept drinking the beers. And the next thing I know, it's 2:30 in the morning. But that was the night where we like forged these friendships, you know. So even Michelle knows names of people, and she has nothing to do with the jump off, you know, she has nothing to do with any of the inflatables, any of the rental industry, but she knows names of people. And she's like, do you think they're going to be at IAPA this year? You think, right? And you're so right. Like, just buy the ticket. If you guys need free tickets, you can get them from your favorite manufacturer. I've got,
We'll hook you up, guys. We'll hook you up. You need tickets, we'll hook you up, no problem.
yeah. And then I've talked to Paul, so I'm going to be at the Foam Daddy booth for a whole day. We haven't locked down what day, but we know it's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'll be with you guys all day. I'll be at the Foam Daddy booth, shooting foam, talking to people about foam parties, just hanging out. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
It's awesome.
All right, cool. There's a lot of trolling going on in the chat on Zoom. I've kicked
What a
more.
surprise.
What?
What a surprise.
Yeah.
That's so unexpected.
I've kicked more people tonight than collectively. Like, I've been doing this show for a little bit over a year. And last year during Christmas light season, we took a little hiatus because I was still installing at a high level. So there was a small hiatus, but I've kicked more people tonight than collectively times 3. Like, insane. But I will say this, if you guys are interested in Christmas lights, I'm very bad about plugging my own stuff. So this is going to be my attempt here. But if you guys are interested in Christmas lights, yeah, Chris came last year. Chris, if you don't mind me asking you on camera, this is kind of brash, but how much did you guys do last year in revenue for Christmas lights?
About $100,000.
That's so I was watching from afar of what you were posting, and then I was telling people, you know, I was like, listen, if you want to be real and you want to do it right, you can do $100,000. I said, you know, Chris came and I watched what he did. He did at least $100,000. Like, there's no way that he didn't do $100,000 year one coming to the training, right? And so
I came on September the 30th, I might add. If the training had been earlier, I totally would have more, because already it's Christmas light season. You guys probably don't realize that, but right now it's already well into the Christmas light season. So I get a very late start. My email and my phone is already ringing off the hook, and I'm like, oh my God, it's still 110 degrees outside.
Yep.
Here. I mean, it's just like you don't even want to climb on a roof, even if, like, you know, you have a hole in your roof, let alone climb up and worry about Christmas lights at this point. It's just too hot. But it's just there is just gigantic demand for Christmas lights. Your class, I mean, I'm very honest. As people know me, I'm very direct. You did a great job of the class. I mean, we basically sat in a classroom for the morning. You went over all the do's and don'ts of sort of pricing and what the equipment was. And Christmas lighting is really, the lights themselves are actually, I think, really, really simple. But it's knowing how to price it correctly. It's knowing how to market it correctly. It's knowing how to install it. And then we went to Nick's house for the afternoon, and a bunch of us, you know, climbed on the roof. And I didn't climb on the roof. I stood there in the yard. But come to think of it, you know, I didn't climb on a roof once the entire Christmas season either. But that's why I have young people that are, you know, I don't want to fall off a roof and break my neck. But the point is it's you know, it's not hard. It's a good complement to what, you know, other things that we do. And I'm very proud of the results. I mean, we decorated a lot of houses that looked absolutely great. It's just a huge feeling of accomplishment. You decorate a house, and, you know, especially that last one of the day you do when it's sort of evening and it's getting dark and the lights come on, and you take that nice picture, you know, at dusk, and it just looks killer. I mean, it looks like something you'd see in a magazine ad. And you realize, wow, you know, 3 months ago, I had no idea how to do this. And I just decorated this house, and it was $1,400 they just handed me. And you get in your truck and go home. It's pretty good deal, you know?
Oh, all my guys are obsessed. Like, so I try to have a monthly meeting. It doesn't happen monthly because a lot of things go on, but we had one last week, and the guy, like, I have to, like, calm, like we're talking about water slides, we're talking about bounce houses, we're talking about operations in that business, right? It's August, and I have to like steer the conversation back to inflatables because they just want to raise their hand back. Okay, so for this year for Christmas lights, what crews are we? I'm like, guys, you got to. This is not that meeting. Like all of my guys are obsessed with Christmas light season because, the best way that I always put it is, you sell a job, right, and you do all the work to sell the job, and they're big, right? They're $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 jobs. The one I bid today was, I sent a quote today that was 6,800, right? And then you go do the job and collect the balance, and you have a wife that hands you a check for $4,000+, with tears in her eyes, because without you, she doesn't get Christmas. And so it's so satisfying from an entrepreneurial standpoint because you just got a $4,000 check, but it's also satisfying from a human standpoint because without you, they don't get Christmas. Like their house is too big, too complex, too crazy to put Christmas lights on. You're the only person that can do it, and you're the only person that said yes. And it's just, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about the Christmas light business because it's just so much fun. It's so crazy. And you work for 6 weeks and do $100,000. Then the next year you do $200,000, and the next year you do $400,000. And then, it kind of almost seemingly scales to infinity. And it's 6 weeks worth of work. It's hard work, but it's so satisfying. I love it. Love it.
And it's also, I think you're doing 2 classes this year. I think like in 2 different cities, right?
Yes.
I want to say they're maybe in next couple of weeks. Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah. So we've got one in Atlanta. We're going to do one in Atlanta. And I'm going to have David and Wes there from Aired Up. And I don't remember the name of their Christmas light business, but they got in the Christmas light business last year after meeting me, and they did very well. So they're going to help us out in Atlanta. So it's going to be me and those 3, and that'll be September 13th. And then we're going to do one on September 26th. We're going to do that in Dallas. And where we're going to do that is at the headquarters of Let's Get Lit Supplies, which we recently launched, so that's our home hub. We're going to ship all of our Christmas lights out that everybody can buy from us. But I partnered with Matt from Big and Bright Inflatables. So Big and Bright Inflatables is the home base for Let's Get Lit Supply, shipping wise. And so that meeting is going to be at the warehouse, in the conference rooms that they have there. And so we'll have the Atlanta one is going to be at a hotel, and it's a very nice hotel. It's going to be awesome. And then the Dallas one is going to be at Big and Bright. So a lot of the people that come to those are inflatable people, right? So you're going to be able to come to Big and Bright. We're going to have inflatables blown up so you can check some product out like that. And then we'll teach you exactly how to do everything. And then I did it this year strategically in those major cities. So last year I did it at my home base, which is like an hour away from New Orleans, in my little warehouse. I got a bigger warehouse now. So I was very humbled of all the people that came to my goofy little warehouse last year. We got a much better warehouse this year, but we're not doing a class at it. We're going to do it in those 2 major cities, and it's going to be incredible. I can't wait. And then we're looking to scale. So then from those classes next year, we're going to try to piggyback. We're going to do some bounce house classes. And then next year, hopefully we can do 5 stops around the US next year for Christmas lights. But it's just one of those things where the bounce house class is awesome because people can come and learn that nitty gritty and roll water slides and do all the thing. But the Christmas light one is where I can put, the passion on that one, because it's an industry that's unknown. It's an industry that is foggy to everybody and confusing to everybody. Like, who's going to pay that much for Christmas lights? Lots of people, but we're going to try and scale that next year to 4 or 5 cities around the nation. And those in-person classes is where that's the energy source for me, where I need to be plugged in. Like, I just love being in front of people and educating. It's just my absolute passion.
Come to Northwest Indiana.
Indiana. So what is a major city near Indiana? Like, I'm not familiar with the Midwest much at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's Chicago, but
You
maybe,
love Chicago.
yeah, it's right there. I'm on the line. So, but there is a really nice town over here called Crown Point.
And that's where all your work would be if you got into it. That's where
Yeah.
probably all your work would be. You just like around here, like we do a lot of work locally, and then we do New Orleans as well. And this year, marketing wise, I've already gone heavy in New Orleans, where last year we just got word of mouth stuff in New Orleans, right? New Orleans is a big city, big money compared to where I'm at. And we just got word of mouth. So we're gonna go heavy there. But that's where your Christmas light business strives, is those like, right? Because I live in a normal ass house. Like I've put Christmas lights on my house as a regular dude before, back in 2018, 2017, whatever. I did the bare minimum to shut my wife up, right? But my neighborhood is not a neighborhood that's going to spend the money that it takes to hire us. We spend most of our time in two different neighborhoods, and there's kind of like a third neighborhood that we're in quite a bit, but it's just a much smaller neighborhood. And like literally the ladies that work at the gate, like I pull up, and between bounce houses and Christmas lights, like I pull up, like my guys pull up, they got to say who they are, but I pull up, she's like, oh, where are you going today? Like, who is it today? Right? Because we're just in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then you go do, and what I love about the Christmas light business so much is you go land that one client, because it's Christmas. It's so emotional, right? So if I go do a water slide for the most influential person in my area, it's just a water slide that we dropped off. And yes, we do a better job. And yes, my guys are super engaging and smart, and they know their shit, and they can set it all up, and they interact with the people well. But it's right, it's just a water slide. You go do that same experience with Christmas lights, you literally have changed their life. Like you literally have changed their life. And so when, and this sounds kind of like dirty to say, but it's the truth. Once you land that client, so I have one of those, I have the most powerful person in each neighborhood I have landed. And not knowing who they were, like, right, I'm not from here. So I like at the bus stop was like, yeah, we're doing lights for this person. And they're like, do you know who the fuck that is? I'm like, no. And so then I can go do any consultation in those neighborhoods. And then I just be like, yeah, I don't know. Did you see, I don't want to say their names on camera, but did you see the so-and-so's house? Like we did it last year. They're like, oh, wait, that was you that did the so-and-so's house? Okay. So like, what's the deposit? Like instantaneous, like cosign. And so it's like shameless, but I name drop like crazy, because you go in those neighborhoods and say that was you. And then people like instantly their guard drops and they turn into a different person. Like all of a sudden we have a personal relationship, and they seek me. I'm not trying to sell them. And then you do their house, right? And so then on that street, you're like, oh, I did the Smiths, or I did the Burns, or I did the what? And that whole street knows that powerful person. And then it just snowballs to where all of a sudden you're connected with all those people, and you can just drop and just land jobs like crazy.
Yeah, power of testimonials. I love that. I'll say that there was so there's not like, it's not like big, so Chicago's like the big city, it's right here. It's on this like a few towns away from the state line. But like St. John, Munster, Crown Point, those are more like, you got the bougier, family town people.
Yeah, I mean, and what I tell everybody is, if you're the guy that does everything yourself, you can go make, between 20 to 60K, depending on how much you want to put into it. But if you're doing it yourself, your profit margin, I mean, in the Christmas light business, your profit margins are disgusting. Have a second crew. So if you can run two trucks, like two crews, you can hit 100K with two crews. So if you got to have two guys you trust to do it on their own, and you got to have one guy that you trust to come with you, right? So you got to run two-man crews. But you can hit 100K with two crews. You do got to hustle, but you can go do 100K. Your margin drops a little bit because you're paying labor on the other truck, but still, I mean, you're talking year one, you're talking between 40 to 60% margin. But then the hard thing to explain to people is next year, your reinstall, right? Because you're at the house and you're custom building your setup to that house. Okay. There's ways to make that more efficient that I'm not going to go into right now, but it does take more time. And then you got to solve the Rubik's Cube of how we're going to run power, how we're going to run our wires. You want to jump up to this dormer window from here. You want to jump up to this dormer window from there, whatever. Next year, all of that is done. The system is built, it's spooled up into a bin, and the bin has a map that I teach you how to make, but the bin has a map on it of how it goes on the house. And so what took you 4 hours last year takes you 1 hour this year, and you don't have to be there as long as you properly make your maps to where, and you don't have any costs other than labor. You'd have no material costs. So what took you 4 hours last year and netted you $4,000 and cost you rough math off the top of my head in materials, $600, $400, $600. Year two costs you 1.5 hours of labor with no material costs, and it goes right back up. And you do that shit on November 2nd and you're done. And then you slam in, right? So you slam all your reinstalls at the beginning of November to where mid to late November, then you're doing all those new installs. Then next year that all compounds down, and then you do it all again. So it literally doubles itself year over year if you're aggressive and do your marketing properly.
Yeah, residual. That's really nice.
Within 5 years, you do $1 million running it right. Within 5 years, you're a millionaire. Within 5 years.
Yeah.
And you work for 6 weeks. Well, I mean,
Amazing.
takedowns take 1, so 7, right? And right, they take 10 days, but it's just it's a business that's magical. It's difficult and it's technical, but it's magical because of the money you can make and the impact you have on people's lives. Like, I mean, I literally got I took a 50, we did, I gotta think, because this is 2021. I think we did a $7,000 job, right? I took a 30% deposit. So then she paid the balance and then hugged me, right? And this is this is the most powerful family in the entire, we have parishes, but counties to you guys, most powerful family in the entire county. And she like hugs me, right? And hands me a check for $4,000. And she's like, nobody would touch my house. You're the only one that would do it. And you crushed it, and hugs me. Like, it's so emotional. It's incredible. It's magical.
That's awesome. I love those stories.
I love it. That's why I have a Christmas light tattooed on my hand. Like, I put it on my hand. I didn't mess around. Like, the only other place I could have put it was my neck.
That's awesome. I did have a bounce house question. I actually asked you the other day, you were like, hey, come on Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I posted on your post when you were showing the roll up of that. You made a YouTube video you were going to post.
Yes.
So I think you might've answered it already earlier, just to clarify. So I don't have a water slide yet, but I'm just asking in advance, when it's rented out on Saturday and it's rented out on Sunday, it's a back-to-back. I heard you mention earlier, you would sometimes just leave them overnight, but what if it is a back-to-back? Do you do that? And cleaning it, the transition Saturday to Sunday, making sure it's good to go for the next day.
Yeah. So a long time ago, we used to just leave everything for the weekend, right? We drop on Friday, we go pick on Monday. And then when it was time to get serious about the business and really do it right, we switched to daily, well, really hourly rentals, right? So 6-hour rentals. So when I switched to those 6-hour rentals, in my brain, I was like, I got to go get it after 6 hours. So we went and picked up everything at night. If it went out the next day, like, you kind of clean on site, but it was a whole fucking thing. And so then we did that for a number of months. And then finally I was like tired. I was just tired, right? Because I was still out there with the guys. Like, I was still like the main delivery guy. And I'm like, I don't want to do this on Saturday night anymore. Like, I want to drink tequila. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to be a normal person. So I just said, screw it. We're going to start picking things up the morning of. And so basically what we do now is we leave, quote unquote, everything overnight, right? So if it goes to a park, if it goes to a church, if it goes to some sort of nonprofit, you got to go get it that night. You have to. Okay. But everything that goes backyard, we go get the next day. Now, it does make the routes on Sunday slightly more complex, but I'd rather have a complex Sunday route to build than go pick everything on Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
Because
You're flipping in the mornings?
oh yeah, everything.
So you clean
Well,
it
how
on
big is
site
your
and then
area?
take it to the next?
Yeah. So basically what we'll do is, so when we set it up in inflatable office, right? They may rent for, like, if they call and rent, Cassie will just set it up to where we pick it up at 7 a.m. the next day and waives the fee. But if they book online, they'll book from whatever, 12 to 5, right? And then when we text them, we're going to drop off at 10:30, we're going to pick up the next day, right? We just tell them. When you go drop it in the delivery planner inflatable office, it switches the rental to where the software understands that you're going the next day. So it pushes the rental to the next day. It doesn't add fees or anything, right? So then we just then make because you don't have a lot of Sunday rentals. You just don't have a lot of them. So every now and then we've got one way up in Tickfaw that's got to go way out in Lacombe. And that is a pain in the ass, right? Because you got to have a truck go get it. And then basically what we'll do is we'll have them try to pick up as many things on the way as they can to still get it there on time. But it's rare. Even on 4th of July, it's rare. So we basically will then just make a route where this truck's got to go get it, pick up 3 things, drop it, pick up 3 more things. And so your routes don't go from warehouse like a nice clean circle. They may have to kind of go out of their way, but then they can pick up stuff out of the way on the way, right? To where this other one, so your Sunday routes just kind of become slightly more erratic, but you end up saving payroll in the long run and quite a bit, right? Because you don't have to run a 2-guy truck to go grab 2 units on Saturday night. Instead, you already have a 2-guy crew to go grab stuff on Sunday and drop stuff on Sunday. So the Sunday routes are slightly more erratic and slightly more long, but it's really not that hard. And it's the way to do it.
See, it's weird up north, man, because up here, we do get a crap ton of Sunday rentals because all you get there is the summer to really party outside. So you're partying Saturday and you're partying Sunday. Right. So it's like, oh, I have this party on Saturday, so I have to party my party on Sunday. And then I get a lot of Friday action too, especially like all my corporate actions, a lot, like even Thursday, because people are so booked on Friday. So it's like jam Thursday. Those days are like pretty booked out. Where I have a 1-day buffer on everything, 2-day buffers on tents. And what that allows me to do is just like I will only do a flip if I allow it. It's like, okay, I know this is booked out. I'm okay with putting that one from Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't have any of the crazy stuff. I just do it over the phone because I get enough phone calls. And there's even less stress than that. But yeah, I hear you where you're talking about like leaving them overnight. Everything's an overnight. Like I put $50 overnights on my site, but it's like, oh, you're 30 minutes away. I'm gonna give you a free overnight.
Right.
Like you're gonna get a free overnight. I am not coming out there that night. You know what I mean? Like,
we give everybody a free overnight unless it's a part. Like next year, I have to restructure every single price in inflatable office in order to change this, but I am going to do that next year to where we're just going to default to overnight rentals because we give it to them anyway. We're going to sacrifice the upcharge that we charge for the overnight, which ours is $40, and people will go pay that without hesitation on the site. But I'm hoping we'll make up the difference from people that code the site, get the quote, and like, only because we get that. Like people will literally call in or text in and be like, it's only 6 hours though, and then we tell them, well, it's overnight for free. to try and like talk them into it. So I'm just going to change it all to overnight, sacrifice that $40 that we get pretty frequently to hopefully close. You know, I only got to
Especially
close
in your area, because your area does all like weekend rentals too. You're talking about
literally.
So even especially in your area, that would benefit you for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to change it to next year. But yeah, so when I was just tired of working Saturday nights, I didn't want to do it anymore. We switched to that, and I was like, all right, these Sunday routes are going to be a nightmare. And then they really weren't. Like every now and then you have that.
But you did say you do clean them on site on Sunday if it's going to another stop. Like you pick it up on Sunday.
We clean every single water slide on site, regardless.
On site, so the customers don't even care. Like you're just hurrying up, they're like cleaning it down and folding it up, and just taking the extra time to do that.
The guys basically take towels and they come down the slide, right? And their direction is to emphasis on the corners of the slide, because that's where your pine straw is going to get. That's where your leaves are going to get, your whatever, right? Grass. They come down and they wipe it out. Then they go up the stairs and get the landing and make sure the landing's nice and clean. Then they come down the stairs and clean down the stairs, like across the stair and the corners, every stair, wipe it out. That's it. That's all and then we wipe down the pool a little bit, but
okay.
You know, it's a water slide. Like it's gonna,
yeah. And I tend to overthink things sometimes, because my one bounce house that I have, just a regular, it's for little kids. I'm the one 2 weekends ago, if you remember, I was like, it's a windy day. And you were like,
yes. Okay. Yes.
And the fan was like on its side. And I'm like, I have no shame. Listen, I just need advice. Like, what do you guys think? My first setup, it was a friend of a friend. So I convinced her to let me stay at her kid's birthday party, because I wanted to learn if I do any rookie moves. I mean, it's just setting it up, putting it on the ground. I have sandbags. I was too chicken to do stakes. And so anyways, overall, it went good. I learned what I learned. I had my second delivery this past Sunday. Tell me why. Because Saturday I reorganized my garage, because I'm like, the vision is there. I'm going to do more. I'm going to build. I'm going to organize this thing. It doesn't take long. Got a friend to come help me. The next day was Sunday, this past Sunday, for my second delivery. Someone found me through my free advertising on Marketplace. Holla. Literally, I was like, let me try this. And tell me why. I am packing up on Sunday morning and I cannot find these steaks. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I called my friend. I'm like, please call me back right now. Cannot find the steaks. And so I'm like, all right, Harbert Fright's right down the street. And they only had 10 steaks, but I only had just enough time to go grab those and make it on time to go set it up. And the customers, which is like, I don't know these people. They're my second customer. I can't stay. I'm literally in the truck in my SUV with the trailer. I'm like, I have to drive away. I have to drive away. I have to trust. I have to drive away. I'm like,
scary thing, right?
I'm like, I'm nervous, but I literally doubled down on these 10 steaks all around. I doubled up on sandbags. I got extra sandbags that week. And I'm like, this baby isn't going anywhere. I was like, all right, I'm trusting. I left. I was like, I re-emphasized to the customer was actually the husband. I've been having some guys message me, which is super strange. I know women are the decision makers of the household. I'm in sales. So I'm like, this is so weird getting a message from a guy. So I re-emphasized to him. He's like, yeah, it's gonna be a small party. There's only 7-year-olds. It's gonna be like maybe 5, 6, or 7 of them. I'm like, okay. I can calm down now a little bit. And he seemed very responsible. He's like, nice house, kind of judge a little bit, but like, so I had no phone call. I literally came home, did yard work, and had my phone by me. And I'm like, I don't even know why I picked to do yard work, because now I'm extra exhausted and it's just me running the show. And then I went at 7:30 to go pick it up. And I'm like, trying to get the steaks out of the ground, because they're 10 steaks. And I had to tell his wife, who was super sweet. I'm like, I'm so sorry. One of the steaks is in. I'm digging a hole. I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to ask them to leave a review. Now that some days have passed.
You're good. So your post was so maybe vulnerable is the right word, but like just so honest. And so I've done the absolute best that I can to try and set up my Facebook group to where it's not going to be haters and trolls, right? So
yeah,
I read through the comments, and I was very proud that nobody was ripping you. Everybody was trying to give you good feedback, right? And then I remember I posted a long comment in there trying to cover all the bases, right? But yeah, if you keep that same enthusiasm, you'll be very successful, just because it's obvious how much you care and obvious how much you want to do the right thing. And just don't let any of the comments you can ever get on Facebook knock you down, because everybody in there acts like an expert and acts like you're an idiot. But we all started, like, before Justin and I made videos, there literally was no education out there whatsoever.
Yo, let me get Mod in here real quick, because there's some shit going on.
I'm trying to read your shit and listen to her, and then
Yeah, no, there's some shit going down. Let me get like control of this chat so I can delete some fucking assholes.
I can't
So
even
you can
see anything
focus
because
on
I'm on my
business.
iPhone, so I'm intentionally not even looking at the chat because I've seen
There's
some
so
stuff
many
pop.
trolls
And I'm like,
in
I don't even know, what are you guys talking about?
There's so many trolls. I don't even know how to do that, Justin. I'm terrible. I do a Zoom meeting every week live with 30 to 50 people.
Go to participants. There's a little 3 dots next to my name. Click it, and then you can make me a host or whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna take control of this shit, but
Like, I can't even.
there's a couple different options.
All right, I'm looking.
And I'll just take care of your chat for you.
But yeah, Jay, you're good. Like keep the enthusiasm, and you'll be great, because the thing about the inflatable business is there's so many people in it that treat it like like their side hustle, because it is their side hustle, that when you show up and you're excited and you're invested, people buy in so quick, because every other inflatable, they didn't even know if it was going to show up. And then when you show up and you're excited and you do a good job, it says a lot about your business. People will just absolutely love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember pulling up this past Sunday, and their little boy, the birthday boy, they saw me coming, and him and his best friend next door, they literally ran to the bounce house and jumped in. They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, this makes my heart happy. And they're like, yeah, it made the party. So that I was like, client, most important person, client. And I was thinking, I remember like all the stuff, how you make these bullet points. And I'm like, I know this stuff already just naturally, but it's always helpful when you guys are talking about meeting other entrepreneurs and you hear it from them too, that have been doing it for so long, so
Right.
It's really cool. I actually think I have the name for my foam party rentals already.
Yeah, the foam, like it takes a lot of work. No, it doesn't take a lot of work. It takes work to get into the foam, because you can't just start it like a bounce house business, because there's so much demand for bounce houses that you can just put your shit on marketplace and get rentals. It takes a little more work with the foam, but then when you show up and do a good job with foam, every single person there will be obsessed with you, because it's so just stimulating. Like,
Yeah.
and kids, adults love to watch, and the kids love to be in the foam.
Yeah. And then lastly, I'll just say this, like my biggest struggle, I think in general, overall, as I'm building these, I just started with my jump house business. It's called Jump for Joy. It's kind of cool because I wear my shirt around, like people are like, Jump for Joy. And they're like reading my name on my shirt. I'm like, yeah, I did the Cedar Lake parade just to kick it off on the 4th of July. It was super cool. Sorry, I kind of jump all over the place, but my main point is like my main struggle is because I have a full-time day job, sales, work from home. So it's beautiful. It's just me. I have my own house. I have 9 animals. It's like a mini farm over here. And I'm trying to transition from my full-time job. So I'm starting to fund from my job going into building these businesses, because it's pretty good money, but I've always just wanted to own my own businesses. So I'm all for this. I'm all for Christmas lights. I'm all for all these things. I have to just kind of plan accordingly and space it out, because it is just me and I, working my full-time sales job. And the struggle is going to be to transition and when to hire staff and do it all the right way,
For sure. I mean, but all good problems to have.
Yeah, exactly. Good problems.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Was that all the questions that you had?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. Super cool. All right. I think we'll end it here, unless anybody's got anything last second. Anybody got anything last second they want to ask? Cool. I have a 5-year-old sleeping next to me on the couch here, and then I got to go find my 9-year-old. So, and then we got to get on a plane tomorrow to go across the country. So You guys are super awesome. So we'll end it.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate
Thank you guys. Let us know if you guys have any questions. We'd love to help.
Absolutely. Thank you, Foam Daddy. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Chris.
We'll see you guys
Thanks,
later.
guys.
All right, guys. Later.
Bye, everyone.